Hello, hello, hello. If you can see us and or hear us, preferably both, do please let us know. But welcome, hello, close enough to Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, we're
hello.
almost there, aren't we? It's the 30th, so, well, at least the 30th on this side. I imagine in some parts of the world watching this, it could be almost any time. The 31st for some. But yes, almost Happy New Year. Merry festive Yuletide holiday time of specialness and stuff.
Just pick your poison. whatever it is you prefer.
Yeah, well, whatever you're running with, happy that. I'm looking forward to today, primarily because I've been working my ass off all day, having myself a good time, and I'm very much looking forward to not working my ass off for a few hours before the second the stream ends, I start working my ass off again.
Today, fortunately, me and Andy had the foresight and the wisdom to basically say last stream of the year is going to be a nothing burger.
An absolute nothing burger, which always makes me happy. So if you've got any burning questions that you have been longing to have answered by us, and it could be about anything. It doesn't need to just be about Warhammer. Perhaps you'd like to know our preference for, I don't know, chocolate. Then feel free to throw that particular question into the comments. As always, we'll be picking up our super chats first, but that doesn't mean that's the only questions we'll be taking. Indeed, if you've got a question that's burning, do send it to us, whether it's a super chat or not. We'll do our best to get to it. Make sure though that you mark it with either an @Lorebeards or a big huge Q like Emma Hagens has done here, or Hagens, with a big Q, so that we understand it's a question. It's not just you shooting the shit away in the comments having fun.
Emma does ask, Andy, do you just paint your nails on your non-dominant hand because that is the easiest?
Yes. There's a thing called the Edinburgh handedness test. I might have mentioned this before, and it's amusingly related directly to Edinburgh, where obviously I live, and it determines how left or how right-handed you are. And Lindsay used that test a long time ago when she was studying psychology, and I took that test. And I am one of those freaks who's so enormously right-handed, so enormously dominant with one hand, that using the other hand is like using an alien. I have almost no control over it. It doesn't do anything, meaning that I'm terrible at musical instruments, for all apparently I have a good musical ear, because this hand does nothing. I mean, it pretty much is useless. I can use it sometimes to do left-handed commands when I'm mapping, for example. So I'll use it to do like hold shift or hold control. But even that is surprisingly hard because I'm so heavily right-handed. So yeah, I tend to just do my right fingers, although at the moment they're all crumbly and I have not actually touched it up. But I tend to just do my right hand because it's easy. Sometimes I do my left hand as well for a special event, for example. But most of the time, super right-handed.
Yep. The most important question in the world. Babes, why do you love me mostest, says Lindsay Law.
I mean, there's so many reasons that I could drop, ranging from she's just a superb and brilliant human being to she puts up with me. And that last part, I mean, that takes something special, man. Because I am a very special person. But if I was to sum that one up, it was in an attempt to be pithy and not just wax lyrical about how awesome my wife is, simply because she's the best.
Very good answer.
Than all the rest.
Jasper Carlson, question I have forgotten to ask for 2 years now. Due to the Maelstrom's connection to the Maw, could an ogre use life or death magic? So death magic is actually easy because they already can in the actual like written army book and all that stuff. So can ogres use death magic? Yes, easy peasy, not barely an inconvenience. Life magic. This is actually kind of an interesting question because it opens a bit of what I think it tends to be a conundrum for a lot of people, which is where do you draw the line between Gyron and Gur? Where does...
And also, life magic is such a fitting magic for ogres anyway, far more so than death magic.
Yeah,
it's far more so when you actually look at what the spells do and what they're doing. And there's a lot of fear and terror, I suppose, in death magic, but there's more of that in Gur. You're as well leaving Gur for that.
Yeah, when you can see it in the ogre's actual lore of magic, and that the lore of the Great Maw is closest to the lore of life and how it actually performs, in that it's healing and buff spells, which is literally what the lore of life does. Wow, that made your camera way worse.
It did not like that at all.
No, there you go.
I've got my camera actually switched off so it doesn't do autofocus, but some reason
I don't care. I'm
it just keeps on doing it anyway. So apologies if I turn into a big blur fest. I'm not taking my tinsel off.
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't be that weird to see an ogre using life magic. It just wouldn't. It is.
It's a game balance thing.
Yeah, but if to have the lore of life and the lore of the Great Maw would kind of be redundant from a gameplay perspective.
Yep.
From an in-universe perspective, it wouldn't. But so take that and do what you want with it.
Yeah, they'd have it. It seems fine to me.
Let's see here. Alistair Moreland. Alistair Moreland. There we go. Yeah. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, lad, to you as well. Other than the carnival in Middenheim, what other winter festivities are there going on in the old world? Are there any you'd like to invent / have invented for your own home games?
Yeah, this is we've mentioned this before, Alistair, in a previous stream. In that Games Workshop hasn't really given much of a proper festival to the winter period for, say, for example, All the Empire. Meaning that whenever there's a computer game that's looking for their equivalent of Christmas, they're left making something up. And typically they go with like Ulrich's Tide or some sort of Ulrich-based thing because Ulrich is the god of winter and war. And I mean, whoa, war. Yeah, it's Warhammer God. Woo! And that'll do. And they'd spin some Ulrich's Tide nonsense and they'll run with that. There are, however, festivals across the Empire and across the world that take place in winter, particularly because Mondstill happens. And Mondstill, am I getting the right one there? Not Mondstill. It is Mondstill, isn't it? Worldstill. Yes. Festival day. And that happens right in the depths of winter, and it's surrounded by a host of festivals. So that's one of the intercalary days we've discussed before. So intercalary days are days that lie between the months. And one of the most important days, another intercalary day you might be aware of is Geheimnisnacht or Hexenstag or whatever. Mondstill is the deep midwinter one, and festivals of all sorts happen there, but not a lot has been written about it with any great depth in any of the books. You generally get a paragraph and that's about it. So winter festivals often tied to Ulrich are what most people fall back on. I placed my version of Black Powder Week, which is a very big festival that happens in Nuln in winter, but the actual books never placed it anywhere canonically in time, meaning you put Black Powder Week anywhere. And Black Powder Week is basically the gigantic party for all of the Empire's nobles to get together, have themselves a big, huge bash as cannons are set off and good times are had. It is, after all, the party city of the Empire. But yeah, I mean, most cities have got their individual little festivals, and often if you go to a city book, they'll say, and in winter, they do this. But not a great deal of festivity for the Empire as a whole, or indeed any of the various places.
Yeah, for my own personal stuff, I don't tend to have anything that I would say is like a universal holiday as far as dealing with the are you having fun?
I'm trying to stop it from doing the autofocus, and as it turns out the autofocus is indeed switched off, so it shouldn't be doing it.
Okay. Yeah, but when you have a little too much, Andy, yeah,
you can never have too much, Andy.
Never. What I tend to rely on is doing more like local holidays. So doing things where, especially the winter in the Warhammer world, like you think about how depressive winter is in our world for a lot of people. And in the Warhammer world, it's a lot more dangerous, a lot more spooky, and there's a lot of things that go bump in the night. And when the nights are longer, they're going to be bumpier. So I think leaning into local myths about like saints or heroic individuals that have done something in the past that people look back to as a form of inspiration they celebrate gives them an excuse to get together and party, like indoors where it's warm or around some large fire where they're celebrating the defeat of like some ancient horror or whatever, is something you're probably going to see a lot of because it gives people stuff to do because they're not farming. They're not doing a lot of the other things. The guy
I strong agree to that one, particularly because when you look at a lot of how Warhammer describes the Empire, it's often focused around the campaigning season, particularly when you look at cults like Sigmar and Ulrich and Myrmidia. That's 3 of the bigger cults in the old world. And all of them are working around the idea that in spring, we're getting ready for war. Then we go out campaigning. Then we hit campaign's end in the end of autumn, and then we go down into the wintertime, Ulrich's Tide, as we're preparing for next year. And there's a lot of state soldiers that have got nothing to do except for maybe patrol or drink, meaning that we need our festivals, our bread and circus to stop the military causing problems. So yes to that one, hard agree.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to snipe a few of these because I'm going to try and grab some just random ones. Heckler's in the back of my mind says, Quick Streets, what if after killing Belegar, Horned Rat ascended Queek to Vermin Lordhood? I don't think he would have, and the reason I don't think he would have is because Queek didn't actually fully win Carrick 8 Peaks by himself.
I'm going to go further. How Skaveny is that anyway, just killing a dwarf? It's not. That's not normally what the Horned Rat massively rewards. He generally massively rewards the schemers. Those who are behind the scenes, pulling strings, and really fucking everybody else's day over. Queek is not a very, let's say, horned ratty Skaven. Doesn't mean that he doesn't like what Queek's capable of doing, because let's be honest, it's pretty awesome. But if anyone deserved to be elevated for Queek's many extraordinary, let's say, successes, it'd be Nodwell. Yeah. Because Nodwell made him and manipulated him and put him in place.
Yeah, I could see the argument that he could have theoretically ascended if he had killed Thorgrim into like a Vermin Lord Warbringer, but that was not his destiny. Just grabbing a couple of little quick random ones. Will we be answering non-super chat questions when we have time and we can fit them in?
As well, yeah.
Is eating an orc vegetarian? No.
Yes.
And we'll leave you with that.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. It's meat. It's meat like any other. Just because that meat happens to have DNA wrapped into it, which has got fungal aspects, that in no way means that it's not meat. It's 100% meat.
Let's see. Then we've got... Boop. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you're a member, something I actually really like about YouTube memberships is that every month you basically get a free one of these for as long as your membership runs for. So, like, you could use it to basically ask a free question that we're guaranteed to look at. So keep that in mind if you're a member to use that once a month. Brendan asks, is Scarbrand the strongest of the Bloodthirsters? So it depends.
Strongest.
Strongest is a very vague term that's never going to be easy to pin down. Is he the biggest, baddest one you can run on tabletop? Yes. But even within the lore itself, one of the things they actually establish is that the hierarchy of demons is always changing. It's always changing. Demons are always going up and down in their own level of power, their own favor by their god, which often determines a lot of their power. And when they manifest, a lot of their power is going to determine under the circumstances they manifest in. Like if a demon just barely manages to pop into existence and there's barely any magic keeping it around, any wounds you deal it are probably going to stick, and it's going to be a lot easier to bring down than if there's like a storm of magic boiling over and there's like tons of demons pouring out and they're like phasing in and out of reality and things are just going through them and not doing any damage. It just depends. I don't think there is a clear answer for this other than to say on tabletop he's the biggest one you can take.
Aaron. Oh, thanks.
Oh,
we'll get to it in a moment, but thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, we'll get to that. It's coming up. Sean Schultz, why does Andy hate Gelt? Have a great holiday. Oh, we're almost there. We're so close. We're so close.
If you want to know why Gelt is an absolute dick, then Lawhammer has to hit 10k subscriptions. That's when we said we'd do the stream, and we said we'd do that like a year and a half ago, and we're still aiming for it. We're currently about 9,100, so only 900 of you need to go over and press subscribe over on Lawhammer, and we'll get an answer.
Yeah, so go sub to the Lawhammer YouTube channel if you haven't already and get us closer to that goal. Hopefully, I'm hoping we can do that in 2026.
Oh, that'd be cool.
What's Cherenkov radiation?
Cripes, that's a question. Isn't that radiation that pops out when I'm pretty certain that's radiation that pops out when something goes faster than light goes when it moves through a substance that slows light down. So when it goes past it, it goes radiation in the same way that a sonic boom, when you go past the speed of sound, goes boom. I'm pretty sure it's something like that. And would warpstone make it if you could get it to go up to that speed? Yeah, sure. I mean, yes.
Sure, I'll just go with that. And if we're wrong,
I'm pretty sure. It's making me want to go check it up now. Cherenikov. I'm going to go check that up in the background while you were doing stuff.
GPT, any advice for aspiring creatives going into 2026? Oh boy.
Yes, let's keep it super easy. Finish 3 things. Finish. Don't just do and make a thing. Finish 3 things. You do that, then you're being creative, and you've also done something that a lot of creatives find hard, which is completion. So don't finish 1. Anyone can generally get 1 done. But if you're really aspiring to be a creative, finish 3. That's a good goal for 2026.
Yeah, I would say that's genuinely amazing advice for literally any form of medium for a creative. Yeah, hard agree.
It's I was close. It's when a charged particle, such as an electron, passes through a medium where I was really close. It's a charged particle. So if it's a charged particle, that's electrical charge. Warpstone is generally charged, but not always because it is inconsistent. So the answer to your question is sometimes.
There you go. Pormesia, greetings. Happy New Year's. What was Eltharian's story before? Is it still canonical he was once blind? No. So Eltharian the Blind is a alternative universe version of the character.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to hard TLDR it until one day we eventually do a stream on him, which we absolutely will. But to TLDR it, Eltharian has an alternate story where Malekith, during basically the Storm of Chaos-ish events, invades Ulthuan for the 4th time or whatever it is. And Eltharian actually leads the charge in Naggaroth to fight him. And Eltharian fights Malekith and absolutely gets annihilated. Like it's such a
his ass is handed to him.
His griffin is killed. He himself is
Stormwing.
captured. Yeah, Stormwing is killed. It's a whole thing. And Malekith captures him and tortures the ever-living fuck out of him, and also blinds him. But
it's one of those ones that if it wasn't a story, Eltharian would be dead. But because they're keeping Eltharian around, he's not dead.
And they basically hand wave it as Malekith senses so much hatred within Eltharian that he decides it would be better to send Eltharian back alive as a fuck you to the High Elves. And so he does. And Eltharian is crippled, and when he gets home, he is nursed back to health. Malekith is pushed back after the Storm of Chaos stuff wraps up, and Eltharian, basically, they leave it on a really fun cliff note where he trains to become a swordmaster because it requires turning other senses, and it becomes really, really scary. He even got his own mini, and it's a very badass mini, and there's a piece of art that looks incredible of him.
Great art.
And basically what it leaves you with is that he has become very spooky, but he's obsessing over trying to kill Malekith. And one of the other elves, I think it's Belinar the Wise, is very worried that in his attempt to achieve this goal, he's going to do something horrific. And it kind of leaves you on that cliff note. And then we never got to see it resolved. Sadly.
Yep. 0 resolution. I just want to bring up a quick one there. I'm surprised Andy's tinsel isn't too itchy. I would be dying, as would I, but I have very carefully placed it so not a single bit of this tinsel is touching my skin. I have super sensitive skin, for those who don't know. I have eczema that's really bad, but I'm in very careful control of it. And I would not be able to cope, but I've got my collar up and around it. None of it's actually touching my skin.
Yeah, you missed it with the first. He tried putting it on right before the stream started. Went,
this sucks! Before the stream, you missed that in a Lorebeards, I don't know, extra episode. You might perhaps one day see what happens before the stream. It's normally one of us going, crap, we're not ready.
Yeah, that's pretty consistent. Contract the Crafted. If you had to write a Southern Chaos Realm campaign book for the old world, what would you do?
I tie it into the release of Koresh.
Yeah, that would be the really fun thing to do. I
Yeah.
actually that yeah. What I think would be really fun for that would be writing a story of like a big legion of demons, and I'd probably pull out the beast fiends just to give something new. The like half demon, half beastman weirdos that are down there, according to the Archaon series, and be like, sure, why not? Like that's something fun and new. And what I would do is I would have them invading across the gates of Calith, where they invade up into Koresh, and I would have them kick the shit out of the High Elves, and it looks like it's going to be a full chaos invasion, and then the Koreshi snakemen show up and absolutely fucking annihilate them. And it shows Koresh as being terrifying, and that's how it ends. I think that would be great.
Yep, agreed.
Brock 6000, happy holiday, lads. What was the thing or moment that got you hooked on Warhammer? For me, it was reading the 6th edition Beasts of Chaos book and its art.
So for me, it was the route into Warhammer through other Games Workshop products. Some of these Games Workshop products would be picked up by my parents when I was a tiny kid from my local art shop. And I played those games. I loved those games. And then I moved from those games into the rest of Games Workshop's oeuvre, which included Warhammer. My first Games Workshop game that I played was Talisman First Edition, which is an old board game from a very long time ago. And the current edition is, fourth? I can't remember. Fifth? Who knows? But regardless, I started with Talisman and then moved into Warhammer. And I played and bought every single game that Games Workshop produced. And I had every army that Games Workshop offered, all the way through to... let's see, that being 3rd edition Warhammer and 1st edition Warhammer 40k when it first came out. So I collected every army that was available at that time.
And for me, my parents were desperately trying to find me a hobby that I would enjoy, because I was a 10-year-old boy that the only thing that they saw me doing was playing video games, which they did not consider a social hobby. So they were desperately trying to find something else, and I hated sports. We tried every fucking sport you can imagine.
I love sports. Which is, I know, not something that you're supposed to admit when you're playing Warhammer, but I love sports. I was in the local athletics club. I had tons of medals and trophies and everything. I particularly enjoyed javelin, of all things. But yeah,
I
also did
probably would
Warhammer.
have enjoyed javelin, but that was not an option we tried. Like we did like swimming, baseball, football, soccer, and I was like, all of these have too much running.
Not much of a swimmer.
Basketball, swimming I enjoyed, but my parents were like, we do not want to have to get up at 5 a.m. to take you to swim practice every morning. Fuck that. But they were wandering around the big mall in a city near where I live, which is the Grapevine Mills Mall, which is a big old mall that's been there for fucking ever. And there was a Games Workshop there, and they saw it and they were like, oh, this looks nerdy. And they went in there and talked to the guys. And I don't know what the name of that Games Workshop employee was, but he sold my parents hook and ladder on that shit. They were like, oh, we're worried about stuff, whatever. And he's like, this game is great for developing reading comprehension and mathematics skills. And he's going to be using like rulers, and he's going to be painting. So he's going to be doing things with his hands. And they were like, perfect. And they took me over there, and I met the same guy. Don't know what his name was, but I met the same guy, and he was like, what do you like? And I was like, well, I like dragons. And he's like, we got dragons. And he showed me the High Elf dragons. And I remember not really liking that there were little guys on them. Like I wanted just the dragon, not the guys on the top. And he was like, so do you like dinosaurs? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, how would you like a dinosaur riding on top of a bigger dinosaur? And I was like, what? And he showed me Krokgar, and I was done. I was done. That was it.
There you go.
It was over at that moment. But yeah, good stuff. Grabbing out some really quick little ones I saw. Gary Garonison, Kane and Kane, Corn and Karn is their similar duo in fantasy. Fantasy has the OGs of Kane and Corn, but we also have Mathlan and Manon, or like literally just name an elf god and there's a human god to go with it are they basically the exact same?
And you've also got to remember that there is a very strong in-game reason for why this is the case. It's not just something that happens by mistake. Some writers do this on purpose because in Warhammer in particular, words mean something. And the word Karneth, blood, in Dark Tongue. Translate, well, Lord of Blood would be better. Lord of Rage and Blood, I suppose. Karneth moves through to Karn, moves through to Korn, moves through to all of those similar sounding words. And they are also, because of the way demonic tongue works, the root of many of the languages of the Warhammer world. So the root words in Warhammer mean directly something. So whenever someone is naming something in Warhammer, if you want it to mean something linguistically in that world, then you name it according to what it is. To Zoan, it means directly to wizardry, magery, and Tzeentch. Or Slaneth, the Lord of Excess. All of these words mean something. So when you're creating something new and you want it to have a name that means what it is, you'll find it's going to sound like something else a lot.
Let's see. The last one I saw that I can grab really fast is where to go. Is the trio of Grimnir, Gromado, and Gotrek unbeatable? Basically, yes. Like the amount of narrative, plot armor, absurdity that would be behind that trio fighting with one another is absolutely fucking hilarious.
Disagree. Hard. Really hard. Because if they were being used as a plot device, they would almost certainly lose. Because really that's what happens in novels. In novels, every time they'll survive, but it doesn't mean they'll win. Because if you ever read the Gotrek and Felix novels, he doesn't always win. You tend to find that come the end, he powers through and doesn't die, but he doesn't always win. And indeed, all the way throughout most of the novels, he's often in a really bad place and being defeated and being outwitted and things not going well. And if it was being used in a narrative device in a novel, that's probably what would happen with the undefeatable trio. They come forward, they'd be absolutely annihilated, and then they'd have their individual stories for how they individually came back. One of them might even die, because that's the nature of the narratives that Warhammer tells. They might even look at it and go, I'm going to kill Grimnir in this book, but he'll come back, he's a god. So, loosely speaking, a hard disagree. They are not undefeatable. In fact, they are eminently defeatable. And in most cases where they're going to be used in stories, they probably would lose to set up something bigger later.
I think that is a very fair argument, but I also think that the people that would be writing it with Games Workshop hovering over their shoulder would never have the balls.
No, Games Workshop and Black Library are particularly noted for doing this. And the writers take a look at any of the army lists, okay, where they produce any of their big characters. Half of the stories of those characters are their losses. It's not just their wins. Nagash loses all the time. Marathi loses all the time. Malarian / Malekith loses all the time. Gotrek's a constant loser, both in terms of his spiritual goal to die and also his desperate attempt to kill everything in his path, which often doesn't go the way he wants. All of the characters, when they're being used fictionally, both in terms of the Games Workshop's background and also in terms of novels, lose frequently, and it would be no great surprise to see the great trio come together and then be defeated, but equally be no great surprise to see them win. It's a little bit like Marvel. Marvel heroes just keep on going and going and going, and they win some and they lose some, and sometimes they're so impressive they can't lose at all, and in fact that's the loss that they encounter.
Yeah, I think Andy makes some excellent points there. Oh gosh, this one I knew this one was going to come up, and it's Rock 6000. What was your favorite Lorebeards stream of 2025?
Okay, I'm going to have one. I'm going to have one because it allowed us to pitch something that was so controversial that we actually got what amounted to almost hate mail, and you love elves too much. There was a lot of comments along the lines of, you just love elves, isn't it that? No, it's not. And that was our Marathi streams. Our Marathi streams gave us an opportunity to dive into a character that Games Workshop themselves has very poorly expressed. They've attempted to patch it up later with Age of Sigmar and look back at everything that had been created for Warhammer and say, what would this create for Age of Sigmar? And to a degree, they've been much more successful there than they have in Warhammer. But the Warhammer writing for Marathi has been universally terrible, but also universally deep and interesting. So when you actually look at everything written from Marathi, you go, oh, wait a minute, there's a really important story here. And we got to dive into that story. And we got to tell you all the story that we've seen by reading through these things that is not the story that Games Workshop pitches, even though it's the story that Games Workshop told. And I found that really nice to have a good chat about. Marathi is a fun character, and I'm really looking forward to doing our What If stream, where What If Marathi founded the Colleges of Magic, because there's going to be a lot of expectation for certain things about that, but I'm probably going to be constantly pitching slightly different angles and versions, given the character we know that she probably is.
Yeah, so looking over, man, we've talked a lot about this here.
We have,
Holy
we
cow.
have. We've done a lot.
So I'm going to cheat and give two answers technically.
Cheat.
I'm going to cheat. So I think my overall favorite stream that we did, because it started kicking off a series of events that me and Andy have both loved dearly, was the Create a Warhammer God stream. Because that really opened the door to what's kind of felt like a series of the Lorebeards verse, where we've created characters with y'all, and the biggest ones that are immediately in my head are the Build a Vampire, the Build a God, and the Build an Everchosen. And those three are all kind of linked to each other in many ways, and they have been stupid fun. And we've gotten some crazy artwork out of that, like fan art that is absolutely beautiful and looks like it would fit perfectly in an army book or a campaign book, and those are stellar.
Yeah. We're doing streams I really enjoyed extra. Then I'd also say that the Chaos God tiering stream was a good one.
that one was iconic.
It was just so much fun, and it was stupid. And I was heading towards a big, nasty, horrible moment in my life where I was getting lots of dental work. And yes, we all get dental work. I personally have an extraordinary phobia of dentists because of some childhood trauma. And I really, really was feeling bad, and I had an enormous bill that was coming in. And everyone just went, "Hey, Andy, you got a big bill coming? Here, have some extra fun and have some extra money too, because you provided some support." And at the end of it, I just felt good. In a way that I never expected to, because the stream was so much fun. Yeah, quite. It was just so much fun, and I was feeling good, even though it was directly related to something that I was feeling really bad about, which was the dentist. So thank you all. You really made what was otherwise a potentially awful situation a good one. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. And then my favorite main story, so to speak, Lorebeards episode for me was the Famir. That one was really important to me, and I felt like we stuck the landing beautifully on it for tackling a very controversial subject within Warhammer, and being able to acknowledge
bothering to tackle it.
Yeah, not just ignoring it and being like, we're not going to address it, but like fighting it and addressing it. And not only did we get, I don't know if we talked about this publicly, but we got a very, very lovely email.
We did.
From the writer who created Muna Mim, and he was very, very, it was a very sweet letter of how much he deeply appreciated that stream. And I also feel like it had an impact, because we, like, some of the stuff that we suggested would be better design choices for the Famir have been used for their update in Total War Warhammer 3. So that stream means a lot to me personally, and I'm really, really glad we did it, and it turned out well.
Hard agree. Yeah, hard agree.
Promesia, what are those rest 4 chaos? What are the other 4 chaos gods? I read that each star in the chaos star represents 1 chaos god. Can you make a stream really to complete? So, okay, that is a theory that exists, I think, more in 40k than fantasy. I've never seen it in fantasy.
Yeah, it's not a fantasy thing.
Everything I've ever read has never said anything about there being another 4 gods that represent the other 4 directions on the 8-pointed star. But it is a very popular fan theory, and it might be a thing in 40k. But we actually did talk about this in depth, I believe, during the Chaos God tier list stream, because it was brought up by, I think, Scion of the Emperor, and we talked about it in depth. But like some of the popular theories that came up during that stream from people just chatting, I think a lot of people loved the idea of it being like, I think the 4 that people settled on was like the Great Horned Rat, Be'lakor, Nakoho, and Malal, or something like that.
Something like that. It's bullshit. This is not a Warhammer thing. If you want to use the 8-pointed star, look to the Winds of Magic. You get more than enough of an answer there for the fantasy side of things. And you tend to find that when it comes to magic, they focus on that much more. And that wraps in the gods. You've got to remember, over in 40k, chaos is pretty much all they really have. Sure, there's lots of other minor gods all over the place, and your emperor, and all the rest of it. But they focus hard on this, and they're constantly spinning tales to try and justify why. And this is a fine example of that. The original chaos symbol, as posed, I'm going to do it. You ready?
Yep, here it comes.
The original chaos symbol, as posed by Michael Moorcock, was that the 8-pointed star was used to show that something could go in any direction. It's not meant to show that there is 8 directions you can go in. It's meant to show that you can go in any direction. It was posed as an 8-pointed star to show you could go anywhere, and on the opposite side there was law, which was a single arrow showing that there was only one outcome that mattered: law versus chaos. And Games Workshop picked up that symbol, copyrighted it, claimed that they'd made it, which was, an interesting thing to do. Trademarked it as well. Said no, it was always ours, causing somewhat of an issue with good old Michael Moorcock, who had literally had it lifted from him. And then started adding extra associations as to what it could mean. So the concept of it was meant to be you could go in any direction. Chaos means chaos. It's random. Mutation is random. Things about the chaos gods are whimsical almost. They are indeterminate. They are uncertain. And then the more you add on rules on top of that and say, no, no, there's definitely 8 directions and there's 8 things, the less chaos kind of loses its, well, the more chaos, pardon me, loses its shtick. And it feels less.
So very chaotic.
And so I kind of like that in fantasy this isn't a thing, because it diminishes chaos in some respects to say that it is, and it limits it because it says there's now 8 thrones upon which to sit and nothing else really matters. And you're like, why? Why? Yeah. I mean, what? And yes, I know there's some reasons for the why, but I'm going to argue that those reasons are bullshit and based on extremely shit psychology.
Magladroth, ideas for potential tier list stream: Greenskin gods or rank the war bosses or WAS. Have a happy new Gelt year. It would be cool if it was a Gelt year, because that would mean it would be a gold year, which hopefully would mean it'd be a money year. That would be awesome.
Money year would be nice. I do love money. Yeah, I do love money.
And yeah, something like that could be fun. We could probably pull off a Greenskin god. There's enough of them that it could be fun. Right. So yeah,
and more than most people realize too.
Yeah, Jenny Fox. Are there any parts of Old Hammer, such as Louis the 14th Sun King type Bretonia, you'd want to add back into the faction? Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you, Jenny.
I'm going to first say, Jenny, that the Old Hammer version wasn't this. And a lot of people think it was. The Old Hammer version was the Knights of the Grail, was the knights that we have inside Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1 tried to rewrite Bretonia away from Knights of the Grail into more of a revolutionary France. The original Warhammer version of Bretonia was always Knights of the Realm whizzing around doing crazy stuff on horseback. And Warhammer's Fantasy Battle crew continued with this. So Nigel Stillman wrote the 5th edition of Bretonia and based it upon the stuff he'd written for 3rd edition Warhammer. Okay, It wasn't a new idea. Fantasy Roleplay tried to go in a different direction and wholly failed. It's only in a single book and a few references in novels because of that book, and that's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1st edition, where they give you this idea that it was in a pre-revolutionary France situation. It's worth noting, though, that Man of War kind of runs with that as a game. Okay, and they give you a whole bunch of crazy ships covered with cannons that go against what Bretonia would later become. But at no point in that book does it say that they're anything other than the crazy knights that they actually are. It's just that they had a far bigger burgeoning middle class. And that's one aspect of it I think that really does need to have a bit more depth. Let's actually allow the Bretonian fleets to be what they once were, because that was part of the established Knights of the Grail version, which means to do that, we need a strong middle class in the cities, a strong middle class that's outside of the knightly virtues nobility version of Bretonia. And that's something I'd like to see brought in. And this isn't a old hammer per se. It's more of a broader hammer that Warhammer used to have but the focus on the Warhammer battlefields means that we never really get to see this version. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that, I think.
Yeah, I would overall agree. I would really like to go back to the idea of that there is a, like Andy said, a rising middle class in Bretonnia that is really chafing under the concepts of the ladies' rules about like not using black powder and all this other stuff. And these people being like, well, I'm not a noble. I didn't take the vow, so it shouldn't apply to me. And there being this building social issue of wealthy people getting ships and heavily outfitting them with cannons and all this other crazy stuff that makes Bretonnia surprisingly terrifying. And that is like that, it causes a really nice social conflict between the various class, like it's building towards potential class warfare where you could see like maybe there's a duke that tried to shut this down and he sends like an army to go deal with these merchant, and the merchants win because they just have overwhelming amounts of firepower. And it causes like a and like there's like a whole like it would lead to a really fun, not a civil war, but a civil conflict in Bretonnia that would make for just a really fun storyline.
Agreed. Yeah, defo.
Lushy Raccoon. That is a fantastic name, by the way. What are your ideal character traits for an ogress mate / spouse?
Not be an ogre.
I'm going to take an assumption here, unless you correct me in a comment, that you're talking about like what do ogres look for in a mate, as opposed to what would me and Andy be looking for in a forced ogre marriage.
I've drawn a female ogre. It was enormous fun, but it was definitely not one of those ones where you go, you know, I think I would.
Nice. Yeah. I think for ogres, I would think they would very much lean into the idea that size is king. That like being that like the bigger and fightier and meaner a woman is or a man, the better, because it's going to produce the strongest offspring, which is going to have the highest rates of survival. Because you have to remember that ogre culture is based almost entirely around survival. They live in one of the harshest environments in the world. Even compared to like, because you have like, sure, the Lustrian, Lustria is horrible, but the Lizardmen are adapted to Lustria and they actually live relatively easily there. It is built around them. The ogres are not native to the Mountains of Morn. They moved there and it sucks. Like the ogres have learned to survive there, but it's not what they were designed for, literally. So I would imagine for them being the biggest, nastiest, meanest motherfucker is attractive.
Yeah, that's it. Big bellies. Big bellies means you've eaten more, which means you've hunted more, which means that you've killed more. And big bellies is a core trait of ogres as a whole for demonstrating their attractiveness. And this would be the same for both sides. Big bellies, in the same way that humans tend to be attracted to certain physical traits that show effectively reproductive viability. The reproductive viabilities for ogres are big bellies. So where your humans are going around going, oh, look at that person's boobs when they're looking at, say, for a female, or look at their wide hips or their big bums or whatever else it is that you think is you find attractive. For the ogre equivalent, it's going to be, look at the size of her belly. Holy shit. Oh, man. And that's going to get them going.
You can imagine there could actually be quite a funny series of like phrases that are common to ogre culture where like saying something along the lines of, I bet that guy could eat me, is considered like one of the top compliments of, oh, that dude could totally eat me in one sitting. Like that's like the highest compliment from a woman to a man, or even from a man to a woman, of like, yeah, you could take all this.
Yeah. Big. And it's not, you got to remember as well that when it comes to ogres, giant bellies doesn't mean fat.
No,
that's a big mistake. Giant bellies, same as the case for halflings, means often muscle, because their bellies are full of this stuff. And
Greasus is like
definitely he's
hot by ogre standards.
He is peak. The only issue with Greasus is that he gets carted around all over the place, but that's more of a style choice than anything else. He doesn't need to, because he's probably one of the strongest ogres there are, and because he's so big, he is super attractive, man.
Yeah, like the whole story of that he killed and ate his father would be like, oh my lord.
Oh my lord.
Yeah,
Lordy.
Magladroth, stream idea, and a stream that extends depending on both the volume and size of super chats. Larger. You want us to do a subathon. That's literally what a subathon is. That is something we could potentially toss around as an idea. If we were to do something like that, we would probably there are ways we can make that work. That might be a fun idea for 2026. Stay tuned. I would probably try and do it where like we cycle out hosts and we just keep the stream going until the timer runs out, but we would probably do it with cycling hosts, because I would worry about like trying to keep Andy for such a long period of time for his health and other things going on. I'm
an old man.
There are things I would worry about, but there is a way we could make that work.
I mean, we've already done I've done a 7-hour stream just for mapping once. So we've already done relatively long streams, but they're still not the epic long streams that you can sometimes get out there.
We've underestimated y'all on several occasions.
Oh yeah,
this would be one of those situations where that could hurt us if we were not careful.
and I'd rather not be hurt just because we're having fun.
Yeah. So yes, we could do it, but it would probably be a slightly different format. But it's something that could absolutely be done. Mm-hmm. And that sounds like a fun idea, actually. Grim Isaac, longer nights equals Norskin's sunless day of endless night. Yep, which is probably a wild time in Norska.
And also remember that the further north you go, the less that the day-night cycle that is an established truth is the case, because the closer you get to the Great Gate. And that Great Gate fucks with day-night cycles, meaning that sometimes some parts of the really close to the realm of chaos up the top, some part of that's an eternal sunshine, other parts are eternal night, regardless of how that makes no sense at all when it comes to basic physics. That's because physics begins to break down the further north you go. And whilst Norska is mostly normal, whenever the gates wax or we are a storm of magic or some equivalent, things go proper weird up there.
Prometheus, what can you tell us about the future of the old world? According to your calendar, what reveals do lie beyond 2026 for Warhammer the Old World?
Beyond.
Anything we say is going to be speculation. I want to get that out of the way first, because a lot of people don't like, even if you for sure had a reliable leak and you knew exactly what GW was planning at one moment in time, a month later it could be completely fucking different.
True fact.
So what I will say is that based on the book, what they're doing right now, where they're not releasing any new armies at this exact moment, they're following storylines at the moment, which I'm actually enjoying quite a bit. It's nice. I like that they're letting the edition breathe, and they're focusing on narrative. Like, I'm really looking forward to the new Cathay book. I think it's coming out next month, about the war at the wall, the Great Bastion. That's gonna be great because we're gonna get more Cathay lore, which is exciting. But because I even just read through this book, which came out last month, The Raising of the Westerland. Great book. Not a lot happens narratively, but it does a lot of world building for Norska and the other tribes, and I thought it's doing a really good job. But anyway, so all that to say, what do I expect? Well, I've heard a lot of rumors that are coloring my opinion, very obviously. I've heard a lot of rumors about the Dogs of War coming back, and to me, that would make a lot of sense because GW has really enjoyed not having to pay someone to design new minis and instead just re-releasing old minis. So I would say
it's cheap.
Yeah, I would say it tracks that probably the next big thing we're going to see is Cetra's invasion is looking to carry him towards Talea, and that would correspond well with a big Dogs of War re-release that might come with some new minis. And it also allows Games Workshop to kind of test if people want to play a Talea faction. And if they do, great. Maybe we'll get to see full Tele and Nostalgia, which would also line up with them actually updating them on the map, where they totally didn't steal a bunch of their stuff from poor old Matt Alfred. Man, it's been an interesting year for Warhammer. But
doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the big thing that I'm expecting. I'm expecting the Dogs of War to come back and Talea and Nostalgia to get.
Okay, so we're going for beyond 2026. Okay, so I'm going to say. My angle, because I agree basically with everything Ryan says, but I'm going to say what the Old World Second Edition, and the Old World Second Edition moves theater, and we go to the East.
That would be awesome.
That's what I feel is the next. Say loosely, what we would require is proof that the Old World is selling bucket loads, and we kind of have that. And if it's selling bucket loads, that means we're now in a position where people are making decisions and saying, well, we now need to make new armies. Something that's really going to make us sell more bucket loads. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Whilst we continue to sell bucket loads on our established lines. So where are we going to get new armies from? The Old World has more than enough opportunities there. Estalia, for example, is one gigantic gaping hole that's never been filled. Araby. But we all know that Total War is a pusher of things, and Total War is needing access to other parts of the world. We already were promised Kislev. I can expect something like that happening, and it's the perfect bridging faction, allowing you to go from Kislev through to Cathay, and from Cathay down to other parts of the Eastern theaters. And Total War needs access to those at some point. If there's anybody at Games Workshop who is trying to put 2 and 2 together to make basic maths and hit 4, then they should be supporting one of their biggest licensees, which means the obvious next route is second edition, go into the East and build our Eastern factions, because that in turn builds licensing opportunities.
Yep.
And accesses markets in the East that Games Workshop traditionally don't have a great deal of penetration with, because everybody knows that China kind of loves Cathay, because Cathay is awesome. And it's also facing them, and it's something that they can go, yeah, I like this. Just pop over to any Chinese app and you will find quite a lot of Warhammer over there nowadays, which wasn't the case 5 years ago. So that's what I would hope would be the case. Total War Second Edition, and we move into the Eastern theaters.
Yep, and to use the language that Andy was using throughout that entire explanation, if they go into that Eastern theater, they're going to penetrate the gaping hole in my soul, and I'm going to lose bucket loads. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Great.
Darius Rose, are we as crazy as the Arkham Asylum subreddit? Sure. Yep. Yes,
I don't know. I've never read the Arkham Asylum subreddit.
I'm just going to assume.
Is there something I should know? Feel free to drop that down into the comments.
Biofoot, thanks so much for becoming a member. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you.
Did Games Workshop consider a crossover event between 40K and Fantasy?
They did it a lot. Take, for example, Warhammer Siege basically made that happen. It was a book which was Siege Warfare for both Warhammer and 40k, and it basically shows you how to pull the whole thing together. Take, for example, less obvious ones like the great campaign that happened over in Albion, where there was all sorts of 40k nonsense getting dropped down into it. Now, did they ever do an enormous one, as in, here's all of Warhammer playing 40k? No, because loosely they don't want to pitch their settings together like that, because that's really not how it works over there. But they constantly cross-pollinate ideas between the two, even when they claim they'll never do it again.
Yeah, because you got to remember that there's sometimes someone will be in charge of a project or be in charge of a release that thinks that 40k and fantasy should cross over, and that'd be a really cool idea, and they're going to slip stuff in there. And then other times you're going to have someone in charge that's going to go, no, this is stupid, how dare you, and they're going to make it utterly impossible. So it just depends on who's in charge at that moment.
Yep. Games Workshop is not a consistent entity.
Yeah, Nivel or Gnivel. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, Aaron. Oh, Aaron. Thank you very much. That's very generous. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, venerable Longbeards. I have an out-of-the-park question. How would the big players and figures, if I arrived in the Warhammer world with a completed Infinity Gauntlet, with the Infinity Gauntlet as an authority over the material and immaterial? All right, so not to actually you, but let's assume that you have a functional one, because I think there's actually a gimmick in Marvel where the Infinity Gauntlet only works in the universe that it's made in, and if you take it to another reality, it stops working, or it doesn't work as well.
That is sort of a thing.
Yeah, but let's assume that you have the Warhammer Fantasy one and you showed up there. basically you would be a god, but you would be a very, very mortal god in the sense that you could die very easily, actually, if they could get around you. And the thing is that even though you're wielding that gauntlet, to my knowledge, the Infinity Gauntlet isn't actually going to like increase your perception of potential threats, as like you're still human. So there are still limits to how far you can see, how well you can hear, what things you can detect. You would be in extreme danger. Extreme danger.
Yeah, that's my answer. You're in trouble.
Yeah, because you would be under assault. It's not that you couldn't defend yourself or you couldn't win literally every single fight. You could. But it would be, you'd have to be aware you were in danger fast enough to react to that danger with the appropriate defense. And I think that's where you would be screwed, because magic is so broad and weird, and there are so many species that have incredible superhuman senses, that like dealing with elves or demons would be nightmarish. It would genuinely be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, plus you've got to remember as well that you couldn't really hide because there's so many forms of magic which can effectively predict where you might end up being. They might know that you're coming before you even arrive because of the nature of the winds of magic. So I would equally say that you are potentially in an extraordinary amount of trouble. If you want to survive the Warhammer world, some of the best ways to survive it is to not have the most powerful and capable artifacts, because they are the things that attract others who are out for claiming those sort of artifacts. It would mean you would have to be extremely powerful to keep hold of them. And whilst the artifact you're carrying is powerful, you yourself are not, meaning that it could cause a lot of problems.
Yeah. And because so your best move would literally be the millisecond you showed up, using everything in your power to try and hide yourself in as many conceivable ways as possible. But because of the nature of prophecy and like the realm of wind of heavens and the gods and the timelessness of the ether, there's already going to be a bunch of shit waiting.
I'm actually going to bring up one comment from Lindsay, which I think is accurate. Yeah, dark magic against Infinity Gauntlet. I'm going to bet in dark magic Thanos was defeated, and that's the big thing. Thanos lost.
Yeah, that's true. He was really having a bad time.
And he lost. And Warhammer, as much as many people hate me saying this, and people in Games Workshop hated me saying this too, Warhammer is a superhero game. And it's a game full of superheroes, many of which are immortal and have extraordinary powers. And the only way to properly make a game that's purely Warhammer is to build a superhero game. Because you need to have games that allow you to have these great extraordinary powers pitching off against lowly mortals. Because of that, bluntly, yeah, Thanos is just going to be moving, or you with your Infinity Gauntlet are just going to be arriving in a world that's just as super heroic as the world that you've left behind.
Now that I think
arguably more so, because there's so much magic.
Yeah, now that I think about it, like if Thor could get his big ol' axe and chuck it at you and it goes through the full power Infinity Gauntlet beam and it still hits Thanos, if somebody throws Galmaraz or the Fellblade or like any of the really nasty magic weapons at you, they're probably going to kill you. So yeah, the best thing would be not to go there. That would be our advice.
Yeah. Use your Infinity Gauntlet to do stuff in a better place, probably.
Yeah. Biofoot, what's each of your favorite memory of the other? Oh, man.
That's an interesting one, Biofoot.
That is an interesting one.
I was very amused watching him attempting to eat Scottish food. That was funny. Just genuinely hilarious, poor guy. That was honestly funny. So for me, that's going to be the one I'm pulling out because it was just too funny. Good luck.
No,
I'm listening.
My favorite memory, and the thing that impressed me so deeply that I was like, man, I know I'm in the right place, was when me and Andy went to Warhammer World together. Because we ended up in a scenario which, not to like make it sound like it was more serious or anything than it was, but we were in a conversation that if I had been by myself, I would have been very anxious and I would have been cowed and I would not have been willing to have that discussion because it would have required me to be very assertive with people that I was vaguely terrified of. And Andy was not, not at all. To hear a lore discussion come up with people that work for GW and are like making decisions, and Andy just be like, "Nah, you're wrong. Here's why you're wrong," and they're just like, and you can tell they're just not used to hearing that. That was it was like watching someone walk up to someone you think is invulnerable and just slap them across the face. Like, once again, to bring back the new Dairy Show, Welcome to Dairy Show. It's like that moment where Pennywise is having the whole hallucination and the circus guy slaps him across the face twice, and he's like, "What's happening?" It was like watching that in person. It was wild. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
That's a nice one. I like that. Thanks.
Magladroth, you are both put in charge of the MCU. Oh no.
Okay.
Which Warhammer villain is the big bad for the next 3 phases? Okay, so we're
none of them because it's the MCU.
Yeah. So I think okay. I'm gonna rephrase what you asked. If we were put in charge of a crossover event for like a game where we had to take a Warhammer character and have them attack the MCU, who would we pick? I would definitely do Malarian because there's like an actual really fun in like real world history there. The fact that his name was stolen from Marvel, his original name. So I think it would be very cute. You have to have Malarian as one of the big bads. Plus, he would make a awesome big bad between the dragon and the magic, and he just looks iconic.
For me, it's already come up in the comments.
Nagash is definitely up there.
I mean, because he's also quite different to how many of the characters are portrayed in Marvel. I mean, Marvel's literally tried everything, so it's not that different. But Nagash is a more interesting character than many. We already have Dark Elves over in Marvel, so probably wouldn't. Well, we have Necromancers over in Marvel too, but Nagash is pretty. Yeah, Nagash is pretty big and relatively unique to Warhammer.
Yeah, I would say Nagash, Malarian, and then I would want a big chaos threat, but I'd also want someone that could work better as a behind-the-scenes villain that would build up over time, but is still scary in the final battle. So I would actually probably go with Egram von Horseman.
Yeah, Egram's a good choice.
The last big bad.
Yeah, he's an unexpected, interesting choice as well. And he's got Bodros as well, so he's going to look pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, he would actually scale surprisingly well because he would be good at getting Marvel characters to fall to chaos and turning a lot of their powers against them. And Baldros is, like, if you use the Black Library, especially canonically, immortal. Like, it cannot be killed. So that makes for a really nasty threat. But yeah, so I'd use those 3.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I am once again asking for 2+ tough on AOS Lorebeards. I will reach out to do something with him. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I'm going to be really blunt with this. I do not think an Age of Sigmar Lorebeards requires like a new set of hosts. I think me and Andy are more than capable of doing it because it is so relevant to fantasy. And I have kept up with AOS. I literally own every single AOS big book there is. I own the entire set. And I've read the entire set. So I keep up with it very, very consistently. I don't talk about it a lot or make a lot of videos about it yet. I want to eventually, but yet. I definitely want to have 2+ tough on for an episode. I think that would be great. But I don't think it'd be like we're looking to have him on full time.
I don't know 2+ tough is. All I'm going to say is sure.
Yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. Like he's a great guy. I've talked to him before. He's lovely, and I would love to have him on the show. But yeah, hopefully that answers that. Exile 1, thank you for the 10 gift subs, and
enormously appreciated. Thank you.
Hopefully y'all don't. Can y'all hear the vacuuming, or is it quiet enough that it's not a big deal?
I'm hearing the occasional slight shift in volume, but that's
fine. Okay, that's fine. I'll just keep talking, hopefully, over it then. Watchdog, what is one talent from Wolfrep / The Old World you would like to have in real life? Ooh, that one's actually a really fun question.
So if we're talking about my expanded talents that I'm using over in Lawhammer, and you can go download those if you want. Avatar.
Oh my god, I feel like that would come with such a can of worms. For me,
I'll take that one, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna be a basic bitch, and I'm gonna give the answer that is kind of the cheapest, but is realistically what I would want if I could pick. I would want regeneration.
It's not talent.
It's
not a talent. It's a trait. Nice try.
Fine, if you're gonna be technical, that level, fine. I would want. I would want something that like wouldn't backfire and blow up in my face. So I probably want something that I could. Okay, I'm gonna pick an answer that isn't necessarily
chaos magic.
Answer. No, I'm gonna pick an answer that isn't necessarily the most hardcore answer because it's something that could be very, very useful in many different ways, but it's also poking fun at a particular individual, which is I would pick supernumerate.
Yep, good call. Yeah, supernumerate.
Magnadroth, if Warhammer Fantasy villains went to Hazbin Hotel, which one is redeemable? Which one is the big bad? And which one has the surprising singing voice? Surprising singing voice would be either any of the elven characters.
Egrim von Horstman.
Yeah, Egrim would.
Because he's from the Light College, and the Light College teaches everybody to sing. They have cantors, actual singers, and to use light magic, you have to sing. Okay, as you're channeling that magic with your voice. So the surprisingly brilliant singer would be Egrim von Horstman.
Yeah, actually, Egrim would kind of. Actually, literally for all three of these, Egrim would probably be one of the best choices. Of that, I think he would be a redeemable, horrible big bad that also would be very good at singing, but he is genuinely redeemable. And would be a very complex character. That would be fun.
Yep,
yeah, I would just say, yeah. Megadron, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Biofruit, the tinsel's coming back.
Don't listen to Biofoot.
No. I mean, he's a member. I will sometimes pay attention to members.
He's
not all the time because I'm also an idiot.
Fishmonger.
This is also true, but there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just sort out the collar so that I don't end up being completely minced by it.
Biofoot says, "What quality of the materials gives the Stradivarius violins their signature sound?" I know it has to do with the wood.
No, it doesn't. There is no individual quality. It's all down to craftsmanship. The wood that was used is wood that, whilst yes, very good. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is.
Well,
both my kids did music.
If I remember right,
it's a beech.
It's something. Also, I think it has to do with how aged it is too, like how old it is.
Is it spruce? I can't remember. It doesn't matter what the wood is. Whilst, yes, the wood was very carefully selected, it was also very carefully shaped. It had very careful chemical treatments done to it. It was basically a work of art, not just simply they used good materials. So there is no single quality that gives it its capability. It was a treat. It's more like consistency of craftsmanship, not mystical wood.
Yeah, but having a very high quality wood that you really can't find anymore helps a lot. How would you cross a river? I would look for the nearest crossing.
Yeah, bridge. Sounds good.
In today's world, I ain't doing anything crazy. I know how dangerous water is. I ain't fucking with water. What normal event are you in awe of? Ooh.
Okay, so there are so many because the basic, I don't know.
Well, okay, let's say one you've
ordinary
witnessed.
Physics, rock. Okay, and whether it's something as simple as a really pretty sunrise or mist rising off of water on an early morning, or just life in general and the awesomeness that it is, the extremely unlikely nature of any of us existing, yet each and every last one of us, everyone on this planet, has a perfect bloodline of successful ancestors that goes back millions of years. Every single one of your ancestors mated successfully and had children, going back for an unbroken span to the beginning of time. That's extraordinary. I'm in awe of that.
That's such a funny thing for me always, because I always feel like I heavily relate to this as well, of so many millennials thinking about that and going, man, they must be looking at me going, Jesus, fuck.
You are a miracle. We are all miracles. And we are all examples of, I'm going to roll myself a D20 billion, trillion, whatever, and I rolled 0, 0, 0, all the zeros, and 1. We are the perfect outcome of uncounted generations of successful breeding. How awesome is that?
I'm gonna say pets, particularly dogs. The fact that like dogs have evolved to literally be like companions. I mean they're great.
Yeah, I love that.
They're great. Like that a life form has evolved to live alongside us and seems to really enjoy it. Is kind of fucking insane. Insane. Felly Pennery, did the inhabitants of the Warhammer world create the gods, or were they always there? Always have a hard time picturing all these pantheons living in the same place. Love you guys. Oh boy. So
the answer, right? So we can answer this one definitively. Did the inhabitants of the Warhammer world create the gods, or were they always there? So first, did they create them? No. Were some gods created? Yes. Were they always there? No. Did they come about at some point? Yes. When? We can definitively say some of them came post the old ones. So it's a complicated situation where there is no single answer. And we could answer this in different ways for each of the gods. So one of the reasons that it's hard to imagine these things is because there is no consistency here. They are all different and have different unique origin stories.
Yeah, and I would also note that this is one of those things where you, by the laws of the setting, you never really should be able to find a super easy definitive answer, because thanks to the nature of the ether itself, gods can exist before they existed, and they can influence things before they existed. So the answer should never be an easy yes/no.
Yep.
Elijah Snow, Happy New Year. Question: what sources should I look for the culture of the humanity of Morcane? I wanted to run a campaign about a mercenary company that descends from there, like Cook's Black Company. So if you're wanting to deal with books that actually take place in Morcane, the only one I remember off the top of my head is Josh Reynolds' Masters of Death, which was supposed to be a trilogy, but only got 2 books. The second book almost entirely takes place in Morcane. Like the entire book takes place in Morcane. If you're wanting like modern Morcane, where it's all like the ghouls and horrible shit, the closest thing would be Lords of the Lance, which is the only technically the only old world book we've gotten. There's a big chapter that takes place in Morcane, or like near Morcane. So those would be the best depending on what it is you're specifically looking for.
Yeah, that'll do.
Also, I would recommend reading Night's Dark Masters. Night's Dark Masters has a good amount of material as well.
Yeah, it's got a bit in there.
Gnivel, with Lightdorf's role in The Enemy Within, was there ever an idea to bring in the Halfling Rebellion? There's now a more autonomous moot with an ogre kingdom in it.
So, cut a long story short, there was entire plans for this, none of which landed in The Enemy Within.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is that sucks too, because that would have made playing a Halfling PC so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Jack Ruby, Ryan, how much for let's flesh out a Malal stream?
Malal. Always a problematic subject.
Yeah, let's say
you're taking it seriously. Okay, fair enough. I'm stepping back.
Yeah, this one's a little more. There are complications that come with this one. Let's say I won't be a total dick. Let's say like I'm trying to think. Should I give let's do this. How about this? Because this would be fun, and a lot of people really like Malal, and I'm feeling a bit festive, so I don't want to be like, pay me money. So let's do this. Why don't y'all, because we don't actually have something for this yet, why don't y'all get Lorebeards to 5K subs?
Nah, I need more for Malal.
10?
10K subs, I'll do Malal. Okay. 10K subs, yep. I'll do that.
It won't cost you a dime. Instead, take Lorebeards out into the wilds, go forth and proselytize, and go discuss it in your favorite Discords and your favorite subreddits, and stuff like that. And we'll get to 10K. We'll do Malal.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, I can do that. Sold.
Skylar Martin, how I see it. Zinch is who you'd reach out to for knowledge to change something. Slanesh is a bibliophile who wants to hoard forbidden knowledge like a dragon.
There's aspects of that. After all, Slanesh is the keeper of secrets, the access point to all of the hidden desires that people have. But I wouldn't necessarily say hoarding forbidden knowledge like a dragon. It's a slightly different angle. It's much more about the things that they obsess over and wish to take to the silly degree. Zinch, that you'd reach out for to change something, I mean, to a degree, yeah. There's definitely an aspect of that, but it's not the only god that does it. There's gods of agitators, for example. So there's gods that are there too, in the Empire, for example, give you the ability to bring about social justice and change without needing to go to any chaotic extremes. Remember, chaos isn't about normal stuff. It's about taking things to an extreme. Chaos is not about just doing your normal day-to-day business. You know, if you're just going around having sex, that's nothing to do with Slanesh. If you're going around getting into a fight down your local pub, that's nothing really to do with Khorne per se. So you're not falling to the ruinous powers when you do that. It's about taking things too far. So I would say instead on this one, when you go too far to change something, or when what you want to know is an obsession.
Yeah, I would say it has less to do with what you're actually achieving in the end, and more for what is motivating you to achieve it. If that makes sense. Let's see. Sarmelian, what if Nagash and Sigmar fused when Sigmar put on the crown? What if that is already something being explored in a certain roleplay series that you could kind of go watch right now, called Lawhammer?
It's gone so much further than that now.
Yeah. That is a story beat that exists somewhere in the story, so you should go watch it.
Yeah.
That is actually a very popular in-universe theory. And
it's almost not a what if.
Yeah. Which is, to put it very simply, the idea is, where did Sigmar's divinity come from? How does a man become a god? And one of the answers, hypothetically, could be that when Sigmar put on Nagash's crown, Nagash, who is a man that functionally became a god, he ascended Sigmar. Which is really dark and really like, oh no, if you are a big Sigmar fan, but it also would explain several things and would also be very spooky in like a kind of a fun backhanded way. So now is that
answer a different question. What's the main difference between Sigmar and Nagash in Age of Sigmar?
Yeah, the answer is
it's an interesting question.
Yeah, literally the only actual specific answer would be that Sigmar is the god if you wanted to get super technical, Sigmar is the usurper of the realm of heavens, while Nagash is the usurper of the realm of death, would be the technical answer. That's the only functional difference. Basically
doing the same thing in just two different spheres. There's no great big difference. So yeah, there's a whole story there that could be.
Nagash has a beard. He has a bone beard. He does. Go look at him. He literally has a bone beard.
Yeah, he's got the good old bone beard. So even that, I'm sorry to say, Mr. Vorn, doesn't quite nail it into place.
Yeah, they are, and I don't think it's unintentional that Sigmar and Nagash are mirrors of one another in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. I, by comparison, do think most of it's unintentional.
Yeah. Darius Rose, weird question. Do Southern people in the Empire objectify Northerners the way female Roman nobles did to gladiators? People are people. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and I agree completely. People are people. There is always to use a single word, no, let's go with a different one. Exotic.
Yeah.
Anything exotic is interesting to humanity. So anything that's different. So, for example, if you see those lovely videos of white people going to Africa because they're doing some great telethon or whatever, they come in as a white person into a black environment, everyone goes, what the hell? who is this person with a completely different hairstyle and hair that's different, and they get treated as exotic because they're different to everyone else. And if you go over to the east and you wander around, I'm a pretty tall guy, I'm exotic over there. And in this particular situation, yes, they would be exotic and different. And some people are going to be attracted to that because some people are attracted to difference. So yes, for some.
Yep. What's the deal with Badland ogres? Happy New Year, says Godfrey Grafted. They are ogres that live in the Badlands, would be the simplest way to answer that.
Yeah, remember, ogres live everywhere.
Yeah, ogres will adapt to their environment. They're very, very good at it. They are natural, what's the word for it?
I'm not quite sure the word you're looking for.
It's the term for when people want immigrants to like do the things they do there.
Okay, there. I don't know which word you're looking for. But yes, they are that.
We talk a lot about it a lot.
They naturally assimilate.
Assimilate, yes.
Assimilate.
Yes. We talk about it. We talk about it a lot in American history. Where ogres are very good at assimilating other cultures. They naturally take on things. So ogres that live in the Badlands will adapt to the Badlands, which means they're going to hang out a lot with greenskins, and they're going to emulate the greenskins in a lot of ways. Plus, greenskins and ogres have a lot of very natural similarities for like their level of violence, and they're more like chaotic dispositions, chaos with a little c. So they get along very naturally. So Badland ogres are you can basically just think of them as like ogre man-eaters that live in the Badlands.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds perfect. I still don't like man-eaters as a concept because it's basically really, really new. Yeah, and the whole idea of what a man-eater is ancient. It's just weird.
Yep. Bane, gun to your heads. Oh no. What a way to start a super chat. If you had to put psyker powers into one specific Winds of Magic, where would you put it? Easy, Olgu.
I wouldn't. Gun to my head, I wouldn't. I'd put it to them all. Because psychic powers have already, to a degree, had that done to them in the past.
I keep forgetting psychic powers do that. You have like the biomancy and
totally. You've got biomancy, which is green. You've got pyromancy, which is red. I would just translate it over if you wanted to, but I would prefer not to. I would pose a completely different situation and instead say, why not say that whatever happened to the Warhammer world, because something has happened there with its access to the warp, if we want to use it that way. What if all the elves were psychers before they became wizards?
The super chat does say, with the gun to your head part, the gunman did specify one Wind of Magic.
There is no Wind of Magic there, but I mean, any of them is the same as saying one of them, none of them.
I'm so sorry to announce that Andy has been shot. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, in that, I literally could say any of them, but the justification for each one would be just as weak. I could say Shimon, sure, let's make it that. Why? Because, it's metal and 40k's got metal stuff. How about red? Because you get pyromancy. Yeah, one of them could easily be. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they'd be in every. It would be more. I think psychers would be less of a form of one of the winds, and it would be more of a different type of wizard. So just like you have like alchemists and priests and wizards, there'd be psychers, which would be another category of people that can use magic in some way.
And I would suggest that it just doesn't work in Warhammer.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Warhammer doesn't. Psychic powers don't work because there's no access to the warp. There's no way to access it at all, unless you get a warp gate. And even then, warp gates do not create psychic energy coming through or accessing the powers that psychers have. It gives you Winds of Magic.
Yeah, we do have weirdos in fantasy that do use psychic powers that don't really make sense with the winds as they're usually described, looking at you, Slon. But don't worry about it. Anyway, moving on. Because they never explain that shit, ever.
No, they don't.
Why can a Slon, use telekinesis to suplex a Hydra? I don't know, but he can. Jasper Carlson, you are now massive. What character do you want to punt for maximum gratification? Gelt and or Crimlo do not count. Who do I?
So we're talking which character would I like to see in some respects just punted out of Warhammer because And no, I wouldn't punt Gelt. I wouldn't. Mostly because I might stub my toe. He's pretty heavy. There's a lot of metal there. But if we're looking for a character, oh gosh, this is hard. One that I don't like, because I think almost everything is to a degree savable, and all the characters that people love to hate, I tend to just love because they bring so much to the setting. And hating a character for one reason or another is often a good reason to keep them, not get rid of them. Particularly if you can take a character that doesn't make sense within the background and make it make sense.
So the only specification is who would you get the most pleasure out of?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
so it's not removing them from the setting per se, but more of like maybe who would just be the most satisfying to kick because maybe they just fucking deserve it. Because there are those kinds of characters running around this thing.
A lot of them do deserve it. No lying there.
Yeah, so the character I would probably get the most pleasure out of seeing them just get their shit absolutely rocked. That'd be like, yeah. That's so hard. For me, it would probably.
You're laughing at the Grom one.
No. I'm laughing at. I was laughing in my head of that. No, you know what? The character that I would punt for a long list of reasons that I would not have the time to explain them all would probably be Neferata. I would punt Neferata.
I wouldn't punt Neferata. She's too awesome.
I didn't say she wasn't awesome. I just say that I would have the most reasons to want to punt her out of anybody else.
I'm going to punt Nagash.
Nagash would absolutely deserve it. Like,
he fucking does. Yeah. He's the worst.
He is the worst.
He is just the worst.
Let's see. Druzina Kawishtian. Probably butchered that. Just want to thank you for. I had the first half. Just want to thank you for everything you did for Kislev. It's my favorite part of Warhammer, from Katarina to Bear Hussars to Boris Ursus to Hags. Well, thank that guy, not me.
I love Kislev massively, so I'm glad you do as well.
Let's see. Biofoot. Did you know most people would become greatly disoriented in an acoustically null room? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, we rely on all of our senses to do all the things that we do, and when one of them is basically cut off.
It's not just that. No, it isn't cut off. It's worse. When you're in a dead room like that, you can hear everything in your body. Every single last bone crunch. Because I'm old, I get bone crunches. Your heartbeat thrumming in your ears. Yeah, the swooshing of your blood through your system. Ugh.
I had that basically happen to me when I was dating a girl who lived in the Panhandle of Texas, which for anyone that doesn't know, the Panhandle is like a big empty. It's empty. There's fucking nothing out there, but there are some little towns that used to have a lot of people back when the railways were more functional or more used more heavily. But now we primarily use like 18-wheelers and planes to move things around, not trains as much. So a lot of those railway towns are ghost towns now. But there's a lot of people that still live there for whatever, reasons. And so I went to stay with her family once, and sleeping there was so hard because at night it was fucking dead silent, and I had never experienced silence like that before, and my own heartbeat was so fucking loud it was causing me anxiety. It was awful. I hated it. What is the fastest you've eaten a 45+ centimeter radius pizza?
That's big. Big.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever eaten one of those by myself, and I like to for me, in the way I was raised, talking or eating is a ritual that you perform when you are sitting down to talk. So I tend to eat very slowly because I like to converse when I'm eating. So for me, it would probably be surprisingly slow, like at least an hour.
Well, I'm the exact opposite, and I tend to just fly through my food at a ridiculous pace. I don't know. 45 centimeters is pretty big. Let's say about 10 minutes or so, because that's pretty big as a pizza.
Yeah. Oh, wait. 45 radius? Yeah, that's a fucking giant.
Oh shit! Pizza. It's not even diameter. Oh crap! No. Now we're. Oh,
yeah, no,
okay.
I'm just not eating
okay, that's fucking huge.
Yeah, that's okay. Multiple days. There's going to be leftovers.
Yeah, I'm not eating that all at once.
God, that would fucking wreck my stomach.
Yeah,
dude.
I completely got yeah, that's like double, almost quadruple the pizza I was imagining.
Nurgleton, damn, I forgot I'm broke. You know what? We many people were, I think, after that day. It was a day of irresponsibility, to say the least.
It was indeed, but thank you very much nonetheless for the super chat, and massively appreciate it.
Have you read Starseer's Ruin? No, I ordered a copy and it never arrived. Now I think about
rubbish.
it. So I probably need to look that up and do a chargeback from my bank, because I'm pretty sure the person or the place I ordered it from was from very far away, and I never got it. So I think they just took money and ran. Opinions on it? I don't know. Haven't read it. Got it for Christmas. Happy New Year. Beards and Seekers. Yeah, I'll look for that actually after today, because I bet I could find someone selling a copy now.
Yeah, totally.
Because a lot of scalpers grabbed it on the first go through. Magnodrop. Would you say a good comparison is that Sigmar is a good person who did bad things, while Big E, the Emperor, is an evil person who sometimes did good? I think that's going to depend a lot on perspective. Morals are perspective. Like, people can and do argue, I don't agree with this, but I know people that argue this, that the Big E isn't evil because he's looking at such a grand scale and is attempting to accomplish something that's going to take so many tens of thousands of years that everything he does is justified because it's the only way to achieve the good ending. And I would say then, by its definition, that's not the good ending. Because fuck that. Sigmar worked on a much smaller time scale of that he was a mortal man. And was Sigmar trying to do the right thing? You could probably. Most humans don't think of themselves as I'm going to be evil and I'm going to do bad guy things. Most people are doing what they think is the right thing in a given situation. And Sigmar, according to the stories we have about him, was trying to be a moral person. Now, whether or not he succeeded, like his persecution of the Norskins, not that great. That was pretty bad. He kind of tried to do a genocide. So, I don't know if I would say that Sigmar thought he was a good person. I don't know if the Emperor thought he was a good person, or if he even thought of himself as a person. Because he doesn't seem to be a person.
A fun one, isn't he? Because I find the biggest problem with the Emperor isn't that he's evil or good or any individual place somewhere in between those points. It's more that the writing of him never quite matches the decisions that he apparently is making. He comes across as an egotistical idiot who has very little in the way of understanding of what he's doing, who has stepped up to the plate and is utterly incapable of doing everything that needs to be done now that he's stepped up to that plate. He doesn't have enough foresight. He doesn't have enough understanding of people. He makes so many stupid errors, and they are stupid errors. But when you look at what the Emperor is, they shouldn't be. They just shouldn't be. And he often feels like he is the he's on the receiving end of either bad writing or incompetent writing or really good writing, and people just don't realize that he is in fact a fascist symbol. And they've just not quite nailed just how much of a terrible figure the Emperor actually is.
Yeah, because the thing that's fucky about him is that there are a lot of different interpretations of him from different writers. And he is he's definitely not human, but then he'll make decisions or give speeches that come off as very human, but it feels more like he's putting on a mask. But when you look at a lot of the decisions that he makes in the grand scheme of things, he clearly does not understand humanity at all, in the slightest.
Or people. I mean, the number of mistakes he makes is remarkable.
Yeah, but he claims to, and a lot of the people close to him think that he does, and it's very messy. And I think it's more due to a suffering of writing than a consistency of the character, because his character is not consistent. Would be the only way I could think to express it. Necroplayer, thinking about your Create-a stream, I think it'd be fun to make a Tarmacon-esque Wednesday for the less known Chaos Gods, especially Nakoho. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I at the end of the Chaos stream, I was almost tempted to do a write-up for not just Nakoho, a couple of them, but didn't. because time. I've got so much to do. And indeed, I am multitasking as we go because I've got a job that I'm literally doing as I go.
Well, this is the perfect stream for that.
It is. That's why I'm doing it.
Langdon.
Normally I couldn't, but today I can.
Giving my first super chat because my brother isn't here for it. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Are there special star constellations with special cultural significance to certain races? Yes, massively, ridiculously, hilariously. I also don't like Marathi. Definitely feels the gaps are doing some heavy lifting. I assume you're talking about for her Warhammer Fantasy writing, and I think loosely we agree.
Yeah. But the gaps are less gaps. And are more, we've got established facts and no one's really dealt with those facts. So what do those facts mean? And they explain everything else. Doesn't mean you have to like her. I mean, Christ, she's awful. She's a truly awful character, but she's also a great character because of just how awful she is, many decisions she's made. On the other side, there's 20 standard constellations that are dropped in for the standard zodiac of Warhammer. And each one of those constellations is associated with different things within Warhammer. They were first detailed properly over in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd edition when the Zodiac was put into place. But they've been referenced in a couple of places, and a bunch of novels have added to that with a bunch of extra star constellations as required for their individual stories. Now, are they culturally significant to certain factions, species, races, all the rest of it? Yeah, many of them are. And you might be surprised that even the dwarves have got quite a lot of connections through to the stars and exactly where they sit. But if we're going to pin it down into any, they are as culturally significant as our stars are to real world people. And that is a lot. But the truth of it is, they do fuck all because they're just stars burning away billions of light years away.
Yeah, they're not.
However, unlike the real world, in the Warhammer world, we also have Azir, and Azir moves in great clouds across the skies, and you can use Azir to measure how the stars have been displaced by the light of the star passing through Azir. So you can use the stars to actually tell the future in the Warhammer world, which you can't in the real world. Unless, of course, you believe such things. And if you do, enough power to you. I don't. But you absolutely can tell the future and scry things from the stars in the Warhammer world, which means that, in some respects, our great chorus, our symphony of stars and everything that they offer up in the skies have more impact down to the various civilizations that are looking up to them on the Warhammer world, meaning that, much like most things Warhammer, you need to dial it up to 11. So what you've got in the real world is sitting at a nice standard volume. Different cultures will look at the stars to a different degree. And then in the Warhammer world, everything goes up just a bit further, where suddenly the stars become culturally not just important, but massively relevant. So we don't just have these, are the pyramids possibly being aligned to Orion's belt? No, bullshit. That stuff is happening in Warhammer because what goes on above absolutely influences what goes down below.
Yeah, and like you have some factions like the Lizardmen who like everything they do is obsessively to do with like things going on in the stars. A lot of which isn't necessarily magically relevant. It's just that the Lizardmen are like, okay, when this particular astrological event occurs, we're supposed to do a ritual. They don't understand why, they just know they gotta do it.
Yeah, indeed. So they're constantly scrying up to them. So if you're looking to pull out a single faction, yeah, let's do the Lizardmen because it's the obvious one.
Yeah. But like Andy said, like Cathay has the Grand Court of Astromancers who are very busy, and they obsess over the skies. The Empire, the Celestial College, to a hilarious degree, literally read Archives of the Empire Volume 2. I think delves into the star signs and astrology, and it's a big chapter. It's a big chapter of that book. Scott Martin, how often do the gods compete for souls? Back to Zinch and Slash, people looking for secret taboos to enact change. Might they have a Zinch demon or a Slash demon telling them, don't choose them, choose me? So this one's a little finicky, I'm going to be honest with you, of that it's going to depend a lot on the writer in question, of that sometimes you'll have various stories or anecdotes about how the gods will genuinely compete over a soul. Like there is an individual that they all want, or that several gods want. For the majority of people, it seems like most folks are too insignificant for the gods to really care that much. But there are certain individuals, like there's a story about I can't remember his name. There was a big bad for Chaos who was this awful guy that went around pledging his souls to the four great powers. And after he dies, the dark gods can't agree at who gets his soul, so they rip him into quarters, and each of them takes a fourth of his essence, essentially, which puts him into like eternal torment and damnation, whatever. And you have a lot of stories about like how Loek will challenge Slaanesh for certain elven souls, and sometimes he gets away with them, or how Erith Kial sometimes steals certain elf souls from Slaanesh's table and from the scraps that he misses. So like it happens, but the specifics of it are not really delved into.
Yeah, so I think a nice way to imagine this is actually to take a real world analogy and take a look there, because this is often what's inspiring stories like this. I consider this story of Job. So if you don't know your Bible, whichever version of the Bible you might go with, loosely speaking, Job is a very righteous man. And Job, his soul is fought over. And again, there's lots of different interpretations of this from different factions of religion who all compete with each other in terms of who are correct in this. But loosely, his soul is fought over by, on one side, God, and on the other side, Satan. Satan being the adversary, not necessarily the devil that you all know and love. Basically, it's another angel. And the pair of them are having a bit of a discussion about good old Job. And they fight over his soul. Now, this story is 100% a moral lesson. It has literally nothing to do with God and an angel having a scrap over a soul. And that's the general interpretation of most of them. It's an interesting allegorical story. Now, in the Warhammer world, we have exactly the same thing. People constantly making discussions about one god or another god, claiming the right to claim a soul. But unlike the real world, in the Warhammer world, there's loads of gods actively trying to take this good stuff, because souls, if we're just to drop it down to a single way of describing them, are tasty. There is so much more going on here. But let's just use one so that we have a very simple way to understand it. And souls that are properly seasoned are tastier. So some will attempt to season their souls to act in a particular way. So our corn demon might sit there going, I want to eat you because you're really, tasty to me because I've seasoned you with rage and you're full of rage, which means you'll be super tasty when you come onto my side. Where on the other side, it's like, no, don't be angry. Okay, be too angry. Go too far. And the Slaanesh demon comes along and goes, hey, you're right, this soul will be tasty. Now, you could argue they're fighting over it, or they just happen to swarm in and be looking for a soul to eat. And there's one that's close to death and about to pass over. A long way of discussing this is, sure, do gods claim individual souls? Yeah, sure. And we know, for example, that come the destruction of the world, the Chaos gods glut. And they don't just glut on the ones that are close to them. They glut on anything they can get their filthy little etheric hands upon. And one in particular, Slaanesh, goes way over the top and eats literally every single elf soul it can get its fucking hands on, because he goes too far and it ends up causing him somewhat of an issue in the long term. But that's 100% Slaanesh going too far. Now, all of this is to give you a sort of framework for me to now answer the question directly. How often do the gods compete for souls? Never. Because the gods are these big etheric entities that have no concerns about individuals. But the gods are made up of thousands, billions, uncounted, infinite component parts, all of which express into the real world at points through dreams, through summonings, through the veil between reality and unreality weakening. And when all of these demons do stuff, those gods are claiming souls. Every demon is just a part of the bigger whole. So the god itself just doesn't do this, but it's always doing it to all of them as it attempts to eat anything that it can, because they are great consumption devices. And that is understood by mortals in the mortal plane as this demon is chasing me, as this god wants me. This is a thing that's occurring. And to a degree, it's sort of correct, but it's also completely wrong. And it's thinking about it in far too simple terms, three-dimensional terms, to use the Borg phrase from Star Trek, where they're like, humans are always thinking in such three-dimensional terms. And that's exactly what this one is here. The Tzeentch demon and the Slaanesh demon going between Tuesday. Yeah, no, but that doesn't mean that that's not how it's going to manifest for the individual mortal who is attempting to understand something that it can't. That's a weird way of answering it.
Yeah, I would say the most realistic scenario, which is not that often because doing this is stupid and most people know it's stupid, is when you deal with an individual who genuinely manages to sell its soul to multiple etheric entities and then the time comes to pay up. That could cause kerfluffles.
But even that is a mortal understanding of an immortal situation.
Yeah, it's not the gods competing for it. It's more of a mortal physical entity has put itself into a really weird situation where it's being pulled between different magnetic forces.
Yeah,
is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I like that.
But it's a self-inflicted stupid thing. Anyway, Sign of the Emperor. That more revolutionary style Bretonnia really comes through in the Genevieve books. Incidentally, that's a good topic for a stream. Genevieve and pre-6th edition weirdness. Also, Happy New Year. Looking forward to a stream. I like it always says the stream instead of a stream because it's not on the schedule. Li Dao and the Tiger Men.
So I hard agree about this one. The novels that took place when Games Workshop were commissioning its first set of novels, they used the role-playing books as their core Bible, world Bible. So because of that, the writers who received the role-playing books were given a version of Bretonnia that was different to what the Warhammer Fantasy Battle game was currently using. Meaning that we ended up with a Bretonnia that was very different for a space of about, let's say about 1988, somewhere around 87, somewhere around there, up to about 94, 95. Okay, so we've got ourselves about a 7-8 year period where Bretonnia went weird. But then the new edition of the Bretonnian Army List came out, and from that point onwards, that became the new Bible. And any new writer was given the Warhammer Fantasy Battle book, not the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay book. So because of that, post that point, Bretonnia completely reverts back to what it was before. But you're right, there is this lovely weird period where we ended up with a bunch of very different types of Bretonnian characters because they were based upon what Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1 had to offer.
Yep, and Lee Down the Tiger Man, we will happily talk about if that ends up being confirmed as the new Cathay DLC. It'd be cool.
That'd be well cool. Yeah.
Christian Langdon, extra for ranty style. Y'all are the best, even if you look at elves too much. We don't look at elves too much. We look at elves reasonably often.
Yeah,
to be fair,
that's because they're
fucking everywhere.
There's a reason for this. And this reason may not be immediately obvious, so let's make it as stark and as clear as I can. Warhammer Fantasy Battle had around about 12 armies, and a quarter of them were elves. There was one dwarf army out of the 12, and there was the Wood Elves, the Dark Elves, and the High Elves. 3 of the 12 armies were elves. Out of the human armies, you had what? The Empire Bretonnia. Was there anything else at the time? Yeah, you got Dogs of War in 5th edition. They popped up.
Really count.
Okay,
really
you occasionally got a little bit of Norse or a little bit of whatever, but that was about it. A full quarter of it were elves. And because of this, a quarter of the stories that were built by Warhammer were about elves and their interactions with other species, meaning that a significant amount of what Warhammer has to offer brings up the topic of elves. It's not so much that we prefer elves or elves are more important or elves are anything other than what most of the books were dealing with in terms of the big epic stories from the past. And sadly, that means often we discuss them because they are the characters Games Workshops themselves have presented to us. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, it's not our fault.
I mean, it sort of isn't, but yeah.
Sean Schultz, what does Andy think of Total War Warhammer 40,000?
I will play the shit out of that.
There you go. Ditto Leaf, thank you so much for coming over. And that's a lovely Slon mini, by the way. That Slon Mage Priest looks
so it is. Oh, superb.
Philip Enery. Philippe Innery, one of those, are dinosaurs native to the world? Yes. Or were they brought in / modified by the old ones? Also potentially yes.
Yes.
Why can't they be found in the old world?
So because they were taken by the lizardmen.
Yeah. Real answer.
They can.
Yeah. The real answer is that because they're part of the lizardman army, and the lizardman army is not in the old world, therefore there are no dinosaurs in the old world. If you play the roleplay game and you dig around, you will find there are actually dinosaurs living in the old world in certain very select areas. The environment is not very much to their liking. It's not as hot and humid as they seem to prefer it to be. But they're out there. Lustria just has the most of them. But like
there's a relatively easy answer here. And that's that the dinosaurs of the Warhammer world, if we're going to use the term dinosaur, were very much changed by the old ones. Now, whether they were imported or uplifted, whatever you want to say, they were changed. And through that changing, they became creatures of warm, humid environments only. And that doesn't mean that they can't exist out of those. They absolutely can. Indeed, they were designed to exist out of those. But that was not their natural habitats. They were designed to go to war with the entire world, after all, which was a thing that the lizardmen did, as they genocided like mad.
Yeah.
So that means that when you come to the old world, unless you go with some really weird novels like, say, Fell Cargo, and Fell Cargo presented Estalia, for example, as a jungled area, which was definitely a choice for Estalia. Unless you go with some of the weirder iterations of what the old world has to offer, it's not a jungle, and it's not particularly hot and humid. It's sometimes cold and humid, but it's not hot and humid, meaning that they've all, thousands of years ago, migrated out of that area to where it is hot and humid. So we're now talking down in the Southlands, or possibly in some of the other looser areas that we have in the Warhammer world as a whole. Lustria is that. So we've had Lustria detailed, so we get lots of dinosaurs. We go into the Southlands, they almost certainly have a lot of dinosaurs, because that is what the lizardmen have created them to be happy with.
Yeah. And to be fair, if like you go with the theory, which makes sense, of like, you know, when chaos came and the Lizardman Empire was pushed back, a lot of the dinosaurs were wiped out or killed by all the horrible chaos gribblies and everything that happened. And then over now for the old world, most of the dinosaurs would migrate north from the Southlands, but now there's a big fuck you super desert, which is not friendly to dinosaurs. Yeah. So they're probably not going to cross that. So they kind of just stay where they are.
True fact.
Quebec Prime. Finally had the chance to play Dark Deeds with my friends, and they loved the games, even if one can't speak English. Much we played 3 games in a row. Excellent.
Oh, superb. And I know I'm obviously biased because, well, I helped make the game. But Dark Deeds is genuinely a great game. So great, in fact, that it got very, very highly rated over on Board Game Geek. So highly rated, they were like, nope, we just switched it off.
The assholes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So delighted. If you haven't picked up a game, you absolutely should. Indeed, if everybody who was watching the stream and watched it later picked it up, we would probably end up making Dark Deeds 2 because we'd sell enough.
Quebec Prime, thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Sparkly Anarchy. If someone wanted to create a TTRPG like Warhammer or Cyberpunk Red or any other system, what's a must-have on your portfolio?
The desire to do it. So there's no must-have. Most of the best role-playing games out there have been created by people who desperately wanted to play them.
Oh, I should note, it does specify create art. I missed that part.
Oh, art. I missed the art part. Okay, yeah, so that's completely different. Okay, what must you have in your portfolio? Good art. And I know that might sound really cop-out, but that's all you need. You don't need to have worked for any other game at all. All you need is a good looking portfolio full of really funky pictures that look lovely. That's it. You'll get hired if you ask. And your art looks nice. I know I wasn't responsible for hiring, and I hired in preference often people who hadn't worked on other games, because it was often easier to deal with people who were working for the first time than it was for people who had established norms, which often didn't match the norms that I was looking to present for hiring folks. So yeah, what's the most important thing in your portfolio? Good shit.
Yep.
What a cop-out answer.
Yeah, it probably could be helpful to maybe like have a variety of topic styles as far as
Sure. I mean, you can have individual characters, you can have action scenes, you can have all stuff, but seriously, all that really matters is the stuff that you have is good.
Would you have any recommendations about like where they should display it to try and catch attention?
ArtStation is the easiest place because that's still catching most individual art directors eye, and I get like 3 job offers from ArtStation every week. I never go to ArtStation.
Portfolio on ArtStation.
I never use ArtStation, sadly. So I log in about once every 3 months, and I'm like, oh shit! There's this big long list of people I have to respond to saying, sorry, I don't use ArtStation, and no, I don't really take commissions anymore. I very rarely take a commission these days.
Jenny, how much of the Vampire Counts lore is lifted or influenced by Vampire the Masquerade?
95% of it. Lifted, yes. Influenced, oh, definitely. You can clearly see how the bloodlines of Vampire the Masquerade were simplified and in many respects reinforced by combining. Strongly. I would argue that Vampire the Masquerade is not original either. It was just lifting from Anne Rice et al. But hard.
Ted Barrera, Kurt Helborg, or Volton for future stream votes, potentially. Thanks for all the streams this year, and here's hoping 2026 just as packed with Lord Bitty goodness. Very likely. Especially
they're both good ones. Yeah, Kurt, I'm half surprised we haven't done before. Valton is one of those problematic characters like Eltharion that's gone through more than one iteration.
Yeah.
So Valton is almost Lorebeard leaning because we like to take on those characters and attempt to
we will definitely
make it all work.
Both of these eventually.
I agree. They're both clear targets.
Might even have them on the same vote at some point this year.
Yeah.
Gary Geronison, is it possible a book club / 40k / rookery stream about the Dark Coil or with Peter Fehevari? I don't know who that is or what that is.
Neither do I. So, Gary, I am going to admit ignorance here. I don't know who that is, nor the show that's apparently coming to Amazon, which does sound pretty freaking awesome. If somebody's coming to Amazon, our tiny little rookery side is unlikely to be...
I think he's saying, what do we think about the coming Warhammer Amazon show?
Oh, okay. That's a completely different kettle of fish. I'm looking forward to it immensely. It's going to be 40k, so me. But I'm still nevertheless looking forward to it immensely. I'm definitely going to be watching it. Damn straight I am.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Dark Coil, but feel free to like bring it up in the Lorebeards Discord, especially in the book.
Okay, so Peter is a 40k writer. There you go. I didn't know. So I don't read any of the 40k novels anymore, so I'm just behind on them all. I mean, we can reach out and see if Peter's interested.
Yep.
Might be worth asking the 40k folks.
Yeah, if you happen to know him, feel free to put that.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be worth speaking to the 40k Lorebeards and seeing if they want to reach out.
Because that would not be our thing. That would be their thing. So
yeah, 100% their thing.
Shadow of Nox seems to be very little official lore on them. But what are your interpretations of the Sons of Manon? Happy New Year. Gelt was Igrim all along. Would explain the mask, wouldn't it? The Sons of Manon.
I mean, what are you looking for here? Interpretations of the Sons of Man? Interpreted in what way?
Yeah, do you have anything a little more specific?
Is there something that's bugging you, is basically what I'm asking. Is there something you're looking for an interpretation of? Because they seem to be pretty clear to me.
Yeah, I don't think I would really...
Am I missing something here? To the point, I'm going to go check it up, because the Sons of Manon seem pretty much on the nose to me.
Yeah,
No. That's exactly what I was expecting. Is there anything controversial in the background?
No, I don't think so.
No, there's not. No. So I'm not quite sure what you're looking for there. So Shadow of Nox, if you can drop in what you're looking for. My interpretation says, yeah, they're a Mennonite nightly order. I don't have that much else there.
Is this where I go, the Sons of Anon, or your dad and uncles? Manan. I like that. Need extra sleep. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Extra sleep is always welcome. Nathan Hall, I'm a little confused by troll hags. My understanding is that most trolls would be too stupid to be wizards. Are they somehow using Wa magic or some kind of religious magic? Full troll episode again. So would we like to use or do a episode on trolls? Yes. Yeah. Trolls would make a fantastic episode. That is something we definitely want to do in 2026. How do Giant River Troll Hags use magic? So here is the good news and the bad news. The bad news is that the Giant River Troll Hags were originally intended to be released as part of the third Battle of Blackfire Pass feature campaign book that was never printed. So the book that they were supposed to come in that explains what the fuck they even are never happened. So there is functionally very little to zero actual writing on what they are and why they cast magic. They basically got these teeny tiny little blurbs when they were released, mostly for right around the end times, because Forge World was like, here, have them, because we already
have all the shit that we've made that we're not using anymore. Boom.
Yeah. So there's very little on them. Which is a damn shame, because they represented huge evolution for trolls. Yeah. Of that, they were suddenly someone was coming out and saying, so the same guys that made the Monstrous Arcanum, which was a fucking awesome book, and the same guys that made Tarmacon, which was a fucking awesome book, were coming out and saying there are certain situations in which a female troll can by saturating in all of the kills and the death and the slime and the muck that they live in. River trolls, their environments get really, really nasty. And living in all that nasty shit, they can become so swollen, old, and powerful that they can become inundated enough with death magic that they start to literally be able to cast spells of death magic. And it was like, oh, okay, well, that's
weird as fuck. What the fuck?
Yeah, that opens up a huge amount of questions. Now, the old world has actually taken this a step further, where it actually has added some lore for Giant River Troll Hags, and they say, oh yeah, now there's a full-on lore of trolls. So we have the lore of trolls now, which is a brand new lore of magic, which is super cool. And we even get a tidbit about how there's an orc special character, this orc shaman who has a mini, whose whole gimmick is that he's spent so much time with trolls and he wears troll flesh, and he's this really weird orc that he has gained the ability to cast the lore of trolls.
Weird as fuck.
Which is super weird, because greenskins so greenskins are still not able to cast traditional lores of magic. They still use greenskin magic, not regular magic in the old world, but this guy's an exception. He's kind of like Azhag in a sense. So that opens a huge can of worms of like, okay, so are trolls adjacent to greenskins? Because contrary to popular belief, they are not greenskins.
No, they're not.
Trolls are their own completely separate thing. But the fact that he was able to become trollified to the point where he can use it suggests that there's something going on there. But the big ultimate answer to this is, are they using Wa magic? Definitely not.
No.
They're using the magic they're using the winds of magic.
Yep. 100%. Basically, troll hags are trolling us. That's it. We don't know enough. We don't have a nice clean answer here, because Games Workshop, when they were in a position to create the clean answer, when they made the model, decided, let's blow up Warhammer. So never really gave us the detail that we needed to truly understand what they were. And thus, when the next generation come in, the old world, they want to use the model because, let's be honest, if the old world can use it, it will. So they just slapped it in, put a little bit of extra rules on, and went, that'll do. And they moved on. We have got a really weird situation which has yet to be fully answered.
Yeah. Now, I will say I have theories. And I'll go ahead and vomit one out for you, just like a troll would, real quick, and then we got to move on until we eventually come back to this with a full episode on trolls, which is my theory that I'll leave you with for 2025 is that trolls are the most adaptive species in Warhammer. Period. End of story. They are bonkers. Where whatever they eat and they spend time around, they literally adapt features.
Yep.
Stone trolls, lava trolls, river trolls, chaos trolls. To the point where
common trolls.
Yeah, common trolls. To the point that just like chaos trolls absorb magic, kind of like dragons do, almost in a sense. And the idea that maybe a giant river troll hag is perhaps a troll that just lives for such a long time in a very, very shyish, thick environment that they're functionally just a death troll that is then able to tap into it. Because not all magic users are intelligent. That's something that there are a lot of species that have what are called, they're traditionally referred to as shamans, which are species that don't necessarily understand magic, but they have an innate ability to cast it. It just comes naturally to them. There's actually a really interesting thing, I think it's in the Liber Chaotica, where there's like a natural prose about how there are some species in the Warhammer world that to them magic feels almost more like a compulsion. Like when they're casting, it's more like something that they feel compelled to vomit out. Like the magic wants itself to exist, and they're sort of just blurting it out.
You got to remember that all it requires is the innate ability to do magic, which is something that not everybody has. And the second one is to say the right words as you channel. You don't need to be clever. You just need to say the right words. And some of those spells wriggle around inside your head like literal creatures, and they just spit out, letting you say the correct word at the correct time. You don't need to be clever at all for that to be the case. You just need to say the right words. And that, much like any other instinctual thing, most animals are instinctual, yet they're pretty capable of fighting, defending themselves, doing all sorts of stuff, hunting. Trolls equally capable of doing all of that stuff. Plus, they've got these wriggly little spells which can just pop out. And I'd just like to say I also agree entirely with Ryan here. To the point that it is indeed what I also think, and that's that trolls are quite clearly a species that strongly take on the traits of that which they're around. And whether this is a slow or a fast process is yet to be determined, but there is definitely some form of process going on.
Yep. Magladroth, insane theory. The chaos gods we see in Warhammer Fantasy are dying. Khorne is raging before his end. Slaanesh is parting until the lights go out. Nurgle has trapped himself in this cycle, and Tzeentch is slowing his death with his plans.
So I think that is not that insane. In that, if you are dealing with an entity which is in a timeless environment, the Aether, that means that either A, they are immortal forever, or B, they are fully aware when they're coming to an end. Because they know all, both future, past, and everything, so they would be aware of when their ultimate end comes. And if we're now going to add a little bit more to this, when the Winds of Magic manifest into the mortal realms, the Winds of Magic involve basically the core components of what the Aether offers distilled into the physical laws of the mortal realms. And a core component of that is death. The movement of one thing into something new, which means the Aether also deals with that, which means all of the gods are arguably heading towards an ultimate extinction that they're aware of. And indeed, some of them could even be the justification for the war itself, the lack of desire for that potential end coming.
Yeah, maybe that could be, I mean, yeah, you could run with this. This is something I think Andy's actually suggested in the past as well, which is maybe that's why they so desperately want to destroy reality, because reality introduces the concept of an end.
Yep, absolutely. Because it has to, because of the way the mortal realms work.
Yep. Jesper Carlson, you're starving, locked in a room with no access to the outside world. All you have is a world-class chef and a Warhammer Fantasy exclusive creature. What creature would you choose, and how would you want it cooked? So okay, I'm gonna assume
exclusive one.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, man, it has to be exclusive. That
Exclusive
makes
is
it
hard.
way harder.
And that makes it way harder because Warhammer is the great thief of all IPs. It takes everything and has almost nothing.
To be a squig, right? It would have
That's
to be
exclusive.
A squig. Like,
who'd want to eat a squig?
I feel like a roasted squig probably wouldn't be horrible.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, is there much else that's entirely unique to Warhammer?
Zotes?
Zotes. Woo!
Yeah, woo!
Tremor. Yes. And even then, that's just a lift as well. I don't actually know. I can't actually think of anything that would be exclusively Warhammer that I'd really like to eat.
Yeah, Skaven, I guess, but I would not eat.
Yum, yum, yum.
Yeah, I'd probably go with a squig. I would do my research into a very specific, the least disgusting squig variant, which is still going to be disgusting. But if I'm starving, like starving does help. The starving does help. But like
starving really makes a difference.
I would definitely want a very well done squig. I don't want any pink on that squig. It better be I want a hockey puck squig. So that I know I would walk away alive. A weird mushroom creature.
Fair enough.
Oh my lord. Uber Durfel. In the Liber Necris, Manfred refers to the husbands and wives of Tomb Kings. Does this mean that Khemri has LGBT marriage or that any ruler is a king? Both.
So the word pharaoh is translated as king. And the word pharaoh, loosely speaking, for the Tomb Kings apply to both. So in their original language, the word that has been translated over is king. So we refer to them as Tomb Kings. And that means that regardless of what they were referred to as kings. And that's fine. Sure. I mean, the queen is just as good, or if not,
they
good
really
title.
should be called Tomb Pharaohs, because then
it'd be a it would make
term.
more sense but we have a gendered term that's currently in place. Now, does this mean that LGBT marriage is in place? Almost certainly. I mean, yeah, I can't see any reason why it wouldn't be. And equally, then being heavily based upon Egyptians, you'll probably find that there's a certain level of purity with many of the bloodlines as well, where they'll be looking to keep their bloodlines pure by marrying very close relatives.
Oh yeah, big time. A lot of the different Tomb Kings would be obsessive about making sure they only have royal bloodlines, or they keep it within certain dynasties, which would cause all sorts of problems. And you have a lot of like cities coming into new cities, so you're marrying cities to each other. But like, and also they many of them probably have many multiples of wives and husbands. I mean, Cetra was known for having multiple wives, not concubines, but wives.
Yeah, from each one of the places that he conquered as well.
Yeah, and he killed all of them as part of a big ritual, as well as all of his the children that he had at that moment. But you can imagine that if a Tomb King ever takes over a city, or like they have a fight and they're settling the fight, that part of it is like, oh, I get your son, like your hottest son and your hottest daughter. Both of them are mine now, and I'm leaving. Peace out, bye. That kind of shit's gonna be happening constantly.
Yep.
Especially if you look into Tomb King culture, utilizing your children as a tool and having a lot of children was key to their culture. Where your first child goes to the mortuary cult, because the mortuary cult wielded that as a form of power. The second child will take your place, which means that your third, fourth, etc. children are used as bargaining chips.
Yeah, completely.
The Duke of Dors.
Aww.
Remember.
Thank you. Enormously apprecited.
Thank you. Captain Magma Pyro, Lorebeards expansion into other fictional settings. Star Wars _ Lord of the Rings. It's possible if Lorebeards does great. It's not. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, Lorebeards does really well, and 40k picks up and is more popular than fantasy. And if the book club is really popular and other things land, and if we ever have an opportunity to have somebody that we think would be an appropriate Lorebeard, sure, but we'd need to have someone who's an appropriate Lorebeard to make that worthwhile.
If just by y'all listening to this, or if you know someone that's involved in this or something along those lines, if there is a writer or a creator or a game dev or anything for any of those settings who would be like, I would love to come on Lorebeards, especially because we have a system in place where they could get paid for their time. And they want to show up on they want to show up on the RPG show or the book club show or something like that. We could easily work that out.
Yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. If you happen to be out there, give us a ping.
Yeah, but for like a full dedicated branch of Lorebeards, the other branches that are still little babies would need to be fully developed and doing successfully.
Yep.
Lunar White Wolf. Hello, guys. I just want to thank you for a year of entertainment and good vibes.
Hey.
I wish you all the best with the new channel. Greetings from Chile and Lustria. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Well, I'm delighted that someone down in Chile is watching us. I might also say, just to call out one particular part, the good vibes is something that I feel is one of the reasons that we're still doing this. Mm-hmm. If it hadn't been for the fact that we are almost aggressively always trying to be positive about what we're doing, even when we are tearing it anew and tearing it to shreds. That aggressive positivity.
Style, okay?
yeah, totally. That aggressive positivity is what makes this fun, because we do it with love. Because when something isn't very good, we want it to be better, and we try to show different ways that it could be better. But we don't do that because we think we're better than the existing lore as it might stand. We generally do it because the lore as it stands is missing something to make it make sense, or the lore as it stands contradicts something else. We're not putting ourselves above it. What we're doing is basically saying, here's the story presented here, here's a story that contradicts over here, and here is how we could smoosh them together like some sort of crazy love that we don't really want to discuss too deeply.
Do they need a beard? No, just loving lore means you have a beard of your soul. All that lore you consume makes your soul beard grow out. That's what the lore beard is. It's the soul beard.
Sure, the soul beard.
Yeah, sure. That's how I'm going to save that.
Yeah, well done.
How different would it be the Warhammer world if the ancient Emperor Strigos never fell? It'd be obscenely different. Well,
it'd be obscenely different.
The overall world would be different.
The world wouldn't be that much different. There'd just be another faction.
Yeah, there'd be the Badlands would be very different. The Badlands would be a very different place. And the Border Princes would, interestingly, probably be more true to their name, as it would be a literal border between. It'd be a border between empires instead of a border between civilization and not. So it would be different, but in many ways the same.
It's classic Lorebeards answer, isn't it? Different, but the same.
Magnadra, what if Nagash's great ritual succeeded? That would make a fun what if.
I think that's a good what if, because it's also a core thing about Nagash's character and everything he was attempting. It's a good one.
Especially because a lot of people, I used to think this when I was younger. A lot of people think if Nagash had fully succeeded, it's just instant game over, and that's not the case.
No, the world's a big place.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that. Now that is one of those scenarios where the world would be very different. But yeah, Ricky Chapman, an interesting question for you is: what is the most common generic magic item in Warhammer? Oh, that's a fun question. Probably. Oh, that's tricky, actually.
I mean, how are we answering this? Are we talking about it in just what's the most common generic item that would be found in the Warhammer world?
Yeah, that's what I was just.
Okay, if that's the case, then it's just a magical weapon. As in, it's one that's got no special powers other than it counts as magical for the purposes of harming magical creatures. It is the most common one. You find them all over the place. A whole bunch of heirlooms in the Empire, for example, have been handed down generation after generation, have multiple stories attached to them, and people just believe that there's something more than they actually are. And it turns out, with all of that time, they kind of are, and it means that they could whack a ghost in a way that no normal sword ever could. But for me, the most common generic item is the magical weapon.
Yeah, I would over agree. The only thing I could think that would compete would maybe be like the absolute most basic bitch simplest scroll that a wizard could create, because there likely would be
a spell scroll.
Yeah, through like apprenticeships, there would be like tons of them all over the goddamn place.
Especially spell scrolls in particular,
because wizards are known to hoard as well. Especially if you go with the logic as it's presented in the battle game that they're one use only and then they crumble to dust, you would want to have a ridiculous stockpile of those fuckers in case you need them. And that would probably be the job of the kids you're teaching to use magic. You're like, hey, your job is to make as many of these fucking scrolls using this magic ink or however the fuck we make it as humanly possible. And boy, that would be a shitty, thankless. That's the peeling potatoes job at the at the colleges of magic, is writing dispel scrolls. Camillo. So Brian Bless described Death for Gotrek as another gateway or something. How do you think dwarfs would view the AOS realms in this sense? Also, do you think Gotrek could ever be content? If Gotrek is alive, he will never be content.
Correct.
That is core to his character. If there was ever anything, if he was ever put in a scenario where he started to feel content, Gotrek would become so deeply upset that he would ruin whatever it is.
Yeah, he becomes depressed. It's just no.
Yeah. He's genuinely not capable. Even if you were a god with nothing but the purest of good intentions and you created for him a pocket dimension that would make him as happy as he could possibly be, he would ruin it because he's
Gotrek. Happy. Yeah, totally.
But how would dwarves view the AOS realms as?
I'll leave that to you.
I think dwarfs it would depend on the dwarf, but I think there would be some Dawi that would argue that it is perhaps in many ways what Grugni did promise them of. It is a reunification with souls that were lost. It is a time to reunite with ancestors and to move to something beyond. And there would be other Dawi that would argue that it's an abomination, that the gods lied to them. That's kind of the view Gotrek takes, that the ancestor gods were liars, and they would be very upset, and a lot of them would become slayers, and it would be awful and horrible. And I do think that there would be a third contingent that would very much lean into the aspect of the concept of rebirth, and that it is a cycle to improve. Funny enough, because they're dwarfs, I think they would see it as a cycle to improve on things that were, but they would also see it as a chance to right wrongs, which would make them very awful and warlike, because they would be perpetuating a cycle of violence that the people they're perpetuating it against wouldn't understand what's happening. And it would be horrible, but it would be very dwarf-like.
Yep, seems fair.
Agar89, love you guys. Hope you all have a great new year. What would the American Southwest look like in Warhammer? I'm from Arizona, and I can only imagine the heat. Interestingly, I think about this a lot, actually, and I know Shop doesn't, which is a shame. Southern Naggaroth is a genuine fucking mystery. It's a complete mystery. We have no idea what's down there at all. Like, I'm not even saying like, oh, we have a couple sentences. We have nothing about Southern Naggaroth. What I would say is that it's why I've always been a very, very big wisher of, I would love to see several like things develop there, and plus a full new playable faction. I would nominate Centaurs as being the perfect group to expand there. But I think it would be very similar to, I would hope that they would take a lot of inspiration from the grand mythos of especially pre-colonial America. So like leaning very heavily into what a lot of the myths and storytellings that have survived, which unfortunately a lot of them haven't, but what have survived from the Native Americans describing what life was like and how it was harsh but beautiful, endless fields, very hot deserts, some of the hottest places in the world, but not like in a desert sense, but in a barren sense. But yet life continues in spite of it, of how there is a beautiful but dangerous land off into the west over the mountains. And in the Southwest is one of the most horrible deserts because it's really hot, but there is forms of beauty and power that lurks there beneath the cracked lands that has survived in weird ways. It'd be a place where action is drawn in insane amounts. So maybe there are like these really cool bizarre fire things, and like working with the ideas of mirages, and maybe there are concepts of like living mirages, or like a mirage city that exists out there. Is it real? maybe, who knows? Is it a realm of spirits? Is it some species that has survived through some weird shenanigan? Or is you have the ideas in our world of things like the Fountain of Eternal Youth or El Dorado or like great cities that are buried beneath the earth. If you could just find the way into their tunnel network, I would take all of those concepts, dial them up to 11, and go hog wild. And you could just think about like the mythos of the Thunderbird, like these great colossal birds that herald great storms, and making that an actual living creature. It would be a wonderful but probably nightmarishly dangerous place, because you need to explain, why don't the lizardmen go up there, and why do the dark elves not go down there? And there should be
I'd be looking to add as much interesting diversity and thought as the old world has, but over there. So we'd be looking for plains people. We'd be looking for people of effectively the desert. We'd be looking for people who are coastal. We'd be looking for people who are living in the mountains. And we'd be looking for what unique and interesting aspects of the various real world cultures they could not use, but certainly develop into something that makes sense for Warhammer.
And for the love of God, hire more cultural writers and historians. Like what they did with Grand Cathay, use that level of respect and research to develop these other places. Because Grand Cathay was awesome. They hit it out of the park with Grand Cathay. Like, I love watching like Chinese historians and Chinese armor experts and all these people looking at Grand Cathay stuff and going, wow, I see this for inspiration. I see this inspiration. This is really cool. This is really cool. And treat it with that much caution and care. Please, God. Please, God. But yeah, it'd be cool. Darius, for creating an ogre tyrant, Rhea or Lesnarish, I don't know what those are. Unless you're suggesting a name. Is it possible to have a human follower who announces them, like Paul Heyman? How would that work? Unironically, yes. I think ogres would love a hype man. Ogres would love a hype man.
But I don't think a human would do, because their voices would be too small. Big bellowers. It'd have to be an ogre bellower. You need something. You need something deeper and bigger and rounder. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I could see. Funny enough, I could see that what they might have is a human speech writer, like a human that like works with the bellower to like come up with all. Because ogres are imaginative in some ways, but very simple in others. And I imagine an ogre that has a human that it just does fancy word speak and comes up with like new, like big names is such a huge thing in ogre culture. And I can see Greases literally having a guy that works for him that's a poet, and his job is to just come up with epithets. Like that's literally his only job. And Greases does something and goes, make that into a name. And he's like, okay. And like, and he's probably just some poor guy that got like picked off a caravan that got sold to him or something. Like you can have a really funny stories with that. You could. Like a man-eater tribe that has a group of humans with them would not be unusual, I don't think. It'd probably be a hard living, but if someone could do it, it would probably be very amusing and also really fun in a lot of ways. Or like they have a human interpreter whose job is to try and be like, okay, here's what we are allowed to do. Here's what we're not allowed to do when we go into this place. Or like they go ahead of the ogres and announce that they're coming. There's all sorts of ways you can play around with it.
Yep.
Captain Magma Pyro, does the Horned Red have less speed? Yes, but we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, we were discussing this the other day.
Yep. Not Boxer became a YouTube member. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the memberships, guys. It's I think we got an alert. I don't know if we're coming up to or we crossed having like 100 members, which is fucking wild.
Utterly mental. Thank you all so much. I mean,
bonkers.
Given that we only have like a few thousand followers, it's genuinely amazing. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, we deeply appreciate it. In 2026, we're gonna do something with this. We're figuring it out. Me and Andy have had a discussion about it. I'm actually gonna be sending out an alert. If you are an artist, by the way, and you like making emotes, I would keep an eye on Lorebeards channel very, very soon for news about us looking to pay people for some stuff. So
yes, we are.
Carrie Jonick, Happy New Year. Do y'all prefer the Big Four as cosmic disembodied manifestations of emotion or as actual gods? This is corny as a dog and a wife. I like both. And I use both.
Yep. Both.
Which sounds contradictory, but it's chaos.
Okay, so I'll give you an idea of why this works as both, okay? We are, as a species, a massive hive of different parts. Each one of our component organs is built not just of our genes, but of the genes of thousands, no, millions upon billions of microbes, tiny little creatures that make us work. We've got tiny creatures that move around building parts of our bodies and rebuilding parts of our bodies, but at no point do we think of ourselves as a hive species, but we are. We are. We are a hive species. We only exist because of all the bits and pieces that make us work, with a consciousness that sits above it all. And now, is that consciousness aware of what's going on in the inside of my ankle? Only in the loosest sense, in that I can feel that ankle is there, but I don't know about all the bits that are building the muscles or making the tendons work or anything else. Gods are the same. They are created and in the aether built of loads of microbes. And they have a consciousness that sits on top of it all. And the definition of a god in the aether is something that has achieved consciousness, which means that it has to have the bit that is Korn, he has a dog and he has a wife. It has consciousness. It can think. Now, it might not think in a way that you think, because it's, after all, an etheric entity, which exists outside of time in a very different form of existence to what we have. But it's not just a big, massive, disembodied manifestation of emotion. It is an actual entity. And that entity does shit.
Unironically, Oransky, there is a very genuine argument that human sentience is literally just experiencing godhood because you're the universe aware of itself and actually interacting with itself, which is really freaky if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, but I'm going to try not to give us an existential crisis, so we're going to move on.
Moving on the bus now. Yeah, both.
Yeah, both. Darius Rose, just saying Happy New Year's and thank you for putting up with our Arkham Asylum levels of insanity. See you in the new year. Darius, we always love and appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much.
You're the best. Thank you very much. And thanks so much for sticking along with us for all of our ups and downs as we move through various parts of lore.
You have forced me to consider far more about interactions between wrestling and Warhammer than I ever wanted or desired. Oh, fun. If it hasn't happened already, here's $20 towards moving Lorebeards to S tier. I can't wait for the inevitable $200 to put us back into Z tier. Joe Miller, what goes into the Grail Knight oaths? For example, humility, poverty, etc. So there are. You can actually find pretty much the entirety of the oaths if you just look them up. They're detailed. And essentially, yes, it's a lot of humility, protecting the weak, smiting.
And there's different vows.
Yes.
They don't all take the same vows. They take different vows according to how their individual Grail quests proceeded. So go check out the older army list. They've got like a big long discussion about the different oaths and vows that are sworn by each of the different types of knights and how they get to where they get to.
Yeah, 6th edition goes quite heavily into it. In particular, like the vow of humility is a full-on oath, and that is a knight literally swearing that he will fight amongst the peasantry and he will guide them and lead them. So he doesn't fight on horseback. He, according to his vow, he must fight on foot. Is a key part of that. Captain Magma Pyro, do greenskins ever find themselves as part of the Chaos Hordes by complete happenstance? And Chaos is just like, okay, sure. Yes, that actually happens a lot. That happened in Asvar Kul's invasion. There's a note that he was both harassed and assisted by greenskins while he was coming south the entire time. Magladroth, what are the implications of Nagash's success of being a god on the mortal side? Is he a new type / species of gods like the Great Maw? When is he destroyed? Is he just banished to the ether? No. So he's not a new type. There are.
I mean, he sort of is to begin with.
Yeah, he is.
And then he stops being a new type when you move into Age of Sigmar, because what he sets up means that he never moves to the Aether, and he's not an etheric entity. What he does is he reforms in the material plane, and everything that he is in the material plane doing stuff within the mortal realms.
Yeah,
so
actually,
to begin with, he's really very different to all of the other gods. But then the end times come, and he effectively takes on the traits of the other gods, pretty much consuming what they are and becoming something different. And eventually we move into Age of Sigmar, where he is no different at all to what came before. So you might actually argue that to begin with, he's gunning for... Oh, do you want to go?
Yeah, so what I would say is, if you actually look at the vampires, which I think are a good example,
Nagash
in Warhammer Fantasy is presented as the first genuine, purely material, quote-unquote, god. He is a genuine immortal that you can destroy him, but you can't kill him. There are actually excerpts that talk about like Nagash's consciousness when he's dead, and he's like aware and is doing things. Like his body is moving and still acting. So like he's not like, it's not like vampires where they describe like the kind of blackout. Nagash is fully aware and still manipulating things. But he's not going into the ether either. It actually talks about that he lives in almost like a pocket. Like he doesn't go where he's supposed to go. He's almost like stuck. But I agree with Andy that in the end times, when he starts eating all of the other gods, he seems to finish, you could argue, his evolution into a true big G god.
Or in many respects, give up on his old plan and replace his old plan with a, fuck it, I'm going to become them because it's the only thing I can now do, largely because the end times have come and the world is ending. And he's decided the only way he can successfully survive that is to no longer be simply a part of that world.
Yeah. And oh my lordy, y'all have been very generous. I got to speed up. MTD, this has probably already been asked, but what is Andy's reaction to the Nagash reveal, such as his power? Have you seen the Nagash trailer?
Yeah, of course I have.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I was less, because you know me, I'm a grumbly old man. I was less impressed than many, largely because there wasn't really anything that made me go, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. It was more of a, there's Nagash, and he's doing that silly Mortark thing, which never really made a great deal of sense. Have they bothered trying to justify it? Nah. And away to go.
Did you watch the speech he gives when they're just showing off the death of the, like they're showing off the campaign effects, and he's talking about, it's Nagash giving a monologue about how the people that live on the world have failed?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say that was the one thing I actually liked, was that they allowed him to like show off his personality a bit.
Yeah, we got a little bit of Nagash being Nagash.
Yeah, man, he's such an arrogant prick. Such a prick.
I just found it a bit. Yeah, it's fine. I can't say that I was blown away because it didn't offer me anything that I didn't expect.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I got something that I didn't expect, I think I would have almost certainly had kittens and been super excited by what it had to offer. But instead, it was, it's the end times, and apparently Nagash is summoning his silly Mortarks, and that's that. Done. I'm like, yeah, great. Well, how does he look? He looks fine. Looks like it'll be fun. So it's fine.
Yep. Bobfoot, what amphibian would you want to be? I don't know.
Hell.
Frogs seem pretty cool. They seem to have a decent
frogs. I'm gonna be a slan, thanks.
A slan. It's a bit of a cheat answer, but okay. What kind of community do you think stands the test of time in that it is cohesive, healthy, and welcoming?
What kind of community?
What I would simply say to this is to be moderately serious for a moment, is I think a community that is willing to embrace change, but overall has a core fundamental value of attempting to understand, but having having an understanding of, you have to be intolerant of intolerance. You must be.
Yeah, so I really quite like that. The whole idea of allowing change, but ensuring that doesn't come hand in hand with erasure, because erasure is bad. I'd also say that rewarding care over dominance is a pretty strong thing for me. And rewarding it, not just simply saying care is allowable, but a lot of saying care is good and dominance of idea over others is generally bad. But broadly, I mean, the ones that survive best for me are the ones that all have a shared purpose. You know, Not just by being in the same place, but because they all believe the same thing and they want it to progress and be better.
Yep. Simon the Emperor. The Emperor loves humanity above all. Thank you very much, Simon, by the way. The Emperor loves humanity above all, but doesn't care how many humans he has to kill to save the species, which to me sounds like a contradiction. Also, there is a very intentional similarity with God Emperor Leto II from Dune. Many horrors have to be done for the golden path of salvation.
Okay, I would argue that God Emperor Leto II is 1,000 times better written. Because he and his pursuit of the golden path and everything that he's doing makes sense. The Emperor has been written by multiple people, some of whom have gone, oh, I like what they did in Dune, and attempted to replicate it, and others who've taken a completely different route. I would argue that the loves humanity above all, but doesn't care how many humans he has, is a complete, he has to kill, pardon me, is an oxymoron. That doesn't make sense. You can't love humanity and its expression if you don't care how many people you have to kill. The word care here and doesn't care does not apply. What is happening to humanity in 40K is an absolute travesty in all ways, shapes, and form. If he loved humanity, he could have just ensconced them in a tiny little part of the galaxy, being happy little humans, without spreading them into this great, vast horror that has occurred with the 40K universe. I personally think that whilst this position is very commonly believed, I not only don't subscribe to it, because of the nature of how the Emperor has now been written, it's objectively not true. Now, he might believe this, and that's where it becomes good. When the Emperor believes that he loves this and has to do these things, but what he's doing does not bring about that outcome. If anything, it brings about almost the opposite.
Yeah, I would say this would follow if you view the Emperor in the sense of like an abusive parent, where he thinks he's doing the right thing and he thinks he loves his child and he's doing what's best for his child being humanity in this case. But he's really an abusive asshole that doesn't understand it at all. And he's trying to force it to be what he wants it to be instead of what would be best for it, which are two very different paths. I think if that's how you see him, that makes for a very compelling character. I actually think that would make the Emperor a very interesting character.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't think that from an objective standpoint, standing outside, that he has a healthy love for humanity, because he treats humanity like shit. Like,
no.
Like the fact that he allowed things like hive cities to exist, or that he like actively exterminated planets during his whole crusade thing that just didn't agree to do what he wanted, instead of being like, well, let me show you why my passion for you or my love for you, let me show you why this is the right way. He just says, no, fucking kill them. Like he's a complete hypocrite. He's a massive hypocrite.
Yeah, I'm not going to get caught up in the individual bits because there is so much that we could discuss in individual bits regarding the Emperor and how different writers have made the Emperor do different things, and some of them are filled with compassion and others aren't.
Yeah, gestures vaguely at Angron over in the corner.
Just aren't. And you're left going, oh, that was a choice. Oh, that was a choice too. And whilst there might have been an overall editing line, I feel that sometimes that editing line could be taken a bit more strongly to ensure that the Emperor landed as the character that apparently some of them clearly wanted him to be. But for some other people, he kind of isn't. Yeah, and I sort of prefer the complication.
I think it always boiled down to, I think anyone that wants to have a particular view of the Emperor can have it and can reinforce it with written material that is considered canon, because a lot of people there have been a lot of different takes at him by different authors that have had different interpretations, which means that there's not one consistent telling of him. But I also agree with Andy that I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. It makes the setting a lot more complicated, and it allows it to be that eternal war of suck. If there's a bunch of people who are arguing and all of them are technically right, which means there's no true right divine answer that if they just figure it out will lead them to glory. Everyone's actually kind of right, which means that there is no good answer, there is no right answer, and they're all fucked.
It's complicated and it's a bit borked and broken, and that's largely where 40K works at its best.
Sorry, the Emperor. Really looking forward to your updated thoughts of the Emperor once you've read the end of the Death Trilogy. I do actually intend on reading it in 2026. That is, or listening, I should say. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to listen to it. I ain't reading that, but I'll let someone read it to me. Scallywag, maybe a fun what if idea. What if the Celestial Dragon Emperor and his Astromancer court succeeded in wiping out the ogres? Thank you for all the streams. Now that could be a fun one because I think there would actually be severe consequences. Personally,
that'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Well, the first question that you'd really need to pin down with that one would be probably
why? Yeah.
No, what, how?
Oh, I mean, if we just like made the comet a bit bigger, because it wiped out what 2/3.
Yeah, but if you go bigger, then what's that done? Yeah,
that would be the consequence. So that would be like one of the first votes we would do at the start is what causes the last third to die out, because that's going to have ramifications. Jacob HW, thank you guys for all the hard work you put in. I went from knowing nothing about Warhammer Fantasy to it being one of my favorite settings. On another note, I am on my knees begging for a Tyrion or Skarsnik episode. So I can tell you this actually.
On your knees.
Yeah, on your knees. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Andy and I discussed Tyrion not too long ago. Tyrion is going to happen in 2026. One of the things that we kind of held off on it was that you can't just do Tyrion. You can't. It doesn't work. You have to do Tyrion and Teclis at the same time, or at least back to back. So we are going to do a Tyrion and Teclis. It's probably going to be both of them together, but it'll probably be at least a two-parter.
There's so much to cover because they got quite a lot of detail, particularly from Bill King.
Yeah, so they will happen in 2026. Skarsnik, I would be shocked if we don't get to in 2026 because he's really the last of the Carragate Peaks trio. We haven't talked about it a bit because we've obviously Queek had a full two-parter. Belagar, I don't think we've done a specific episode on Belagar, if memory serves, but we've talked a lot about him. So I would say look forward to Skarsnik. It is like, especially because Book Club is doing his novel next, so he's going to be on a lot of people's minds, and we'll probably we're going to start putting up votes for 2026 for fantasy very soon.
Yeah, by the way, I would also want to. Go.
Oh, last thing, if you haven't voted yet, there's a 40K poll up right now. For one of their future episodes. So if you want to go vote on a 40K poll, go do that.
And I'm going to bring up this one from the Jaunty Scarecrow because I think it's spot on. Now, if you don't know your Dune lore, this will hopefully just resolve it for you anyway. Leto II was ultimately successful through self-sacrifice in that Leto's plan, the Golden Path, was his ultimate death, and what he was setting up followed after. The Big Emperor was more like Otto von Bismarck, where as soon as he was gone, everything fell apart. Yeah, he completely fucked it. The whole thing went wrong unless you think 40K was the plan. And if that's the case, then Emperor and Golden Throne, all of that was what he wanted. And everything that 40K is what he wanted. Holy crap, that's one hell of a reading. And is not a reading that is that controversial if you consider just how powerful the Emperor was. He may have indeed set this whole thing up. And if that's the case, what's going on in his mind? This is not a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, if your goal is to become a god, then, what are you willing to do?
God.
Where was I? I was here. Hi, Queen Jen. Hello. My YouTube year in review revealed my top most watched channels are Lawhammer, Loremaster of Sotek, Turin, and then The Hoof GP.
I don't know who the GP is.
If I recall correctly, I think that's actually a veterinarian who does videos of him fixing horse hooves.
No, I don't want to see hooves.
I think that's who that is. I'm not sure though. It could be someone else. I just know those videos are popular for a lot of people. But awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed so much of what we've been up to. Singemeister, has anyone ever made a family tree of an Aryan? Ha! He has. And
this guy.
Yeah, and he should put it on the Patreon so everyone can see it.
Nope, I've not put it up, but I might. I started doing a physical, family tree version of it, but the problem was that gets really mucky. There's some, particularly when you're dealing with the Everqueen set, the Everqueen and the. Let me just explain the issue. The Everqueen has a perfect bloodline. Okay, where are we? Oh, yeah, you're right. We have a perfect bloodline for the Everqueen, which is basically each Everqueen is the daughter of the previous Everqueen. That goes all the way through, but there's a lot of incest if that's the case.
Yeah, which I mean for elves,
a lot, and that's okay, but it makes family trees really hard because you end up with, instead of a nice simple tree, you've got this cross-wired piece of razor wire rather than a family tree, all looped around itself in a timey-wimey Doctor Who type way that doesn't quite look pretty if you're trying to make something that makes sense. But there is a lot of difficulty and problematic issues if you don't like incest.
Yep. Scully Wagyu, thank you very much for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Yay! Speaking of successful new games like Dark thought on Daggerheart. I don't know what that is.
Daggerheart, I've got as a box set through another one. I've yet to read it through properly. I've skimmed some stuff, so I wouldn't like to give an opinion. I will say they put a fucking shed load inside that box, though. So well done, Critical Role and Darrington Press.
Have you ever visited MTL? MTL.
Oh gosh.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
Quebec Prime. You're gonna have to explain what MTL is. I'm looking now.
Does it have to do with Quebec?
And MTL. I
don't know.
I really don't know what it is. I'm really annoyed.
Question for you both. Chaos Gods give you a personalized festive gift. What do they give? For me, probably nightmares and horrors beyond my comprehension, and I'm in a really bad place. Oh, Montreal. No, I've never been to Canada. I really want to go to Canada to visit, but I have a lot of friends up there.
Yeah, I've never been to Canada either. So
I don't think it's mating train land. The Chaos Gods are Bellins, so they would probably give us suck, to be fair, and we would die, and it would be horrible.
It would be terrible.
That would be a gift you send back. Jack Ruby, was it Zinch that gave Throg intelligence? Doubtful. It was probably a random mutation. Genuinely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just Heish. The white wind of magic is enough, and being bathed in that is enough to give anyone intelligence.
Man like Pegasus, can we accept the fact that Demon Slayers are the most martially gifted warriors in the setting? Tiny naked man kills giant multi-dimensional demon with axe. It's an argument you can make. I don't think it would be true. I think there are technically people above them, but they are near the top. They are top 1%. That I would agree with. They're
so the answer to this is no, they are not. Chaos Warriors are better. And at the very top tier of them, the Chaos Lords are just better. Stat on stat, they're better, and as potential outcomes are better, and they also have, in terms of where they might end up, a better place too. They might become a Demon Prince.
Poor Demon Slayers. Godzilla 2021. There's a Carnosaur running around in Bretonia because some idiot stole Electro-Lustria. Yes, I love that story. It's a great story.
Yep.
McGassie, what did I miss? A lot. We've been going constantly.
And it's been a good one too. I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of these.
Sunrise Parabellum. Hi guys, have you ever played Disco Elysium? I would love to someday. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I need to go back to it because I didn't finish it. I started it, played it for a chunk, went, oh, this is great, and then proceeded to move on to something else because I had a job on and forgot to complete it.
That could be a fun game. I wonder if I wonder if I could convince Vera to play that with me on the Lorebeards Twitch channel once it's monetized. That could be a fun one. Kaibo, what rec would you have to put in the Halfling Rebellion into my own? Oh, retcons would you have to put the Halfling Rebellion into my own the Enemy Within campaign? I have a Halfling Ogre player and I'm starting one in the new year. I don't think you'd have to retcon very much. You just have to put it in there.
You don't need to retcon anything. Just do it. Yeah,
just do it, and go to Averland. You just have to get your guys to Averland. That's it.
Yeah.
If anything, you could actually have a really easy thing of the first storybook, so the Enemy in Shadow, and going into Death on the Reich. Death on the Reich would be a very good opportunity to start introducing the build-up and shit to the Averland crisis.
Yeah, I probably introduced Marius earlier, Marius Lightdorf, and introduced the current Ludmilla Alptra electric count of Averland earlier as well, so I'd want to mess around with them.
Yeah, maybe have them at the festival carnival thing in the first part. Would be a really easy place to introduce them.
Yeah, it would.
Temporera, are there any 40k characters you'd like to be isekai into fantasy as they are? Personally, I'd pick Trazen or Lord Commander Dante. I'd probably take like the Swarm Lord if I had to take anyone. I wouldn't, but if I had to, I would take probably the Swarm Lord.
Emperor.
Oh, jeez. Ricky Chapman, Throg should have been trying to use the troll hags to make his super trolls. I agree, but they didn't exist yet.
Yeah, definitely something you could have done with that, but no.
Yeah, Man Like Pegasus, what is the most mature piece of content you can think of from fantasy that is akin to something as horrendous as Kilaba in 40k. So the Diamant Kilaba isn't really that. It's just kind of stupid in how edgy it is. It's just kind of dumb. It's not interesting. I would say if you were wanting to try and match that level of I could make gratuitous body horror out of this without trying very hard, I would do a short story of the birth of Morgar. Morgar is awful. He's awful.
Morgar's the worst. Yeah, Fantasy has got tons of horrendous stuff. Literally tons. You tend to find, though, that Fantasy tends to uses veils and lines and just sort of puts a cloak over it and doesn't let you look at the detail because it's awful.
Yeah. Like if you did a hardcore focus into what beastmen do when they take over a town or stuff like that, you can make something horrific. You don't need to. It's implied and that's good enough. But if you wanted to, it's there.
Yeah.
Sign of the Emperor. Sea Trolls. Instant deletion of the Greenskins or Vampire Coast. Get those in Warhammer 3. Both. ¿Por qué no los dos?
I'd say particularly for the Greenskins, maybe not the Vampire Coasts.
The undead ones for the Vampire Coast would be fun.
I mean, do they really need undead sea trolls?
Do they need them? No, but would it be fun? Sure.
I'm less keen. I'd rather keep the trolls to their individual armies rather than spread them out.
According to some cave squigs taste like venison. I bet a dwarf said that, and dwarfs have shit sense of taste when it comes to stuff like that. Never believe a dwarf. Never believe a dwarf. They will eat fucking anything and say it's fine. Joe Miller, watching the Breck Duke the tier list now. I want to play Albrecht's Journeying Son and Wolfer campaign. That would be super.
That'd be super cool.
An excellent character for a PC or an NPC. He would be perfect. Especially because you could worry about keeping your father's identity a secret. That would be very fun. Solano, thank you for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Joe Miller, also 2+ stuff, aka Doug would be a great fit for the AOS episodes shown interest. Awesome. We would love to have him on the episode. Zachary Welch, besides Marathi, what is
just to call out, get him to ping out to us if you're streaming with him, so start a dialogue. Why not?
Yeah, Zachary Welsh, besides Marathi, what is the first Age of Sigmar topic that you would like to cover? Sigmar. Sigmar would be a very good topic because
Sigmar's an obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah. Though I would like to do a tier list stream relatively soon about which AOS factions would port the easiest to fantasy, because I think we could have a lot of fun little minor discussions in that. That would be a good time. Matthew Adam Steele. There we go. Since the Warhammer world is larger than Earth, the horizon is much further. Is there an interesting factor scenario that utilizes this? God, I wish. Would this affect elven naval supremacy? If you were to, no one, GW hasn't applied the physics they created to the world they made. Is the easiest way I can answer that. If you do this and you're smart about these kind of things and you want to write about it and say, this is how I think the effect of the world being larger would change things, let us know and put it on the Lorebeards Discord, because I would love to read that shit.
Yep, that's all.
Jesper, thank you for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Colbine, there we go. Monty, watching Lorebeards grow and evolve from what it used to be to what it has been is an absolute delight. Cheers from Iceland.
Thank you.
My GM, Alexis and her lovely partner, my GM Victor, live in Iceland. They're lovely people. Captain Magma Pyro. So Gotrek is just the Warhammer version of House. Yeah, basically. in the sense of how the show works, of thing gets progressed that's impossible for anyone to deal with, and only they can deal with it. They go through personal suffering and they will never improve on their personal problems, and they always solve the issue by the end of the story thanks to the help of other people. Yes, it's the exact same. And they're both assholes. I forgot to include that part. They're both horrible assholes that use substance abuse. Jesper, for the well done answer concerning food. Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Sign of the Emperor, thank you so much for becoming a member.
Oh, thanks. You're also awesome. I'm welling up over at this end.
Darcy. I've always thought,
just stop there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. I've always thought action was a bit limited. Heaven does lightning, wind, rain, ice, comets, and divination. Is there more to actually just fire and anger? Could cold passion? Passion's the big one. Passion of all forms, of all types. Also, actually does have. And remember, it's not just fire; it's heat. Which heat has a lot of different applications. Think about friction. Think about different forms of lightning. Not just lightning in the sense of the storm throws lightning at you, but lightning in the sense of extreme friction or interactions of extreme heat and how things break down under extreme heat, steam. There are many different. You're right. Bright Wizards are all about woohoo, blue fireball, but it does get significantly more complex. Courage, passion, inspiration. There's a lot of those.
Look at the crowns.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects of that within
leadership.
Actually, yeah. So
yep.
Yeah. Mountain like Pegasus. Lorebeards, how would you want each of the Uberstrike 5 to die? I know they have to, but what would each of you want for Vermintide 3? I wrote an ending for them I could share. I would love to see it. Post on Lorebeards Discord. We'd love to see it in there. You can just slap that in a fantasy forum on there. To TLDR it really, really fast. God, that's really hard.
That's a hard one, actually. I'm contemplating it.
Yeah. I think Sienna would definitely die from her magic addiction. I think would get her in the end.
She has to fall. She's the obvious one to fall.
Yeah, which she kind of has, becoming a necromancer in one of the
indeed.
alternate. Yeah. I would say Sienna's addiction to magic should lead to her death. Mm-hmm. I think Carillion would die in a very elven fashion of probably trying to save, because she's so standoffish and talks a lot of shit to them. I think she would die trying to save them.
Barden. She dies saving Barden.
Yeah. That would actually bring it full circle because they were the first of the two of the Vermintide 5 to meet. Oh, that would be horrible. Yep. I think the last survivor I feel like would probably be Kruber. I don't exactly know how Kruber would die, but I feel like he would be the last one left alive. Or Saltspire, one of those two. Saltspire being left alone might be even more tragic. Like Saltspire surviving and being the sole survivor would probably be awful until like the world itself is brought to an end. Or he's killed by, I could see him almost having an ironic death of being killed by like another good guy on accident. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Jonathan, what if when Nagash ate the gods, they changed his personality? Like when he ate Valea, he became more compassionate. It would be cool, but that definitely didn't. For a what if?
There is a lot to that as a potential, but not a lot for a good what if episode. In that, should that have occurred? Probably, but it didn't.
Maybe one day. Let me think on that one.
There's not a lot to make a good episode out from there.
Barunsky, running my first Wolfram game tomorrow. Thanks entirely to you two. Can't thank you enough. The streams are so helpful and your passion is inspiring. Fingers crossed we managed to blow up the Red Moon Inn. Good luck.
Hey!
It's classic. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that one. I was so pleased that I put the Red Moon Inn back into the back into the setting. It was first put into the setting in 3rd edition, and we added it again, taking into account everything that happened in the computer game into obviously the 4th edition.
Yep. Mechanical Beanstalk, here's a reinvention, and good luck with your session. Let us know. We'd love to hear how it goes in the Lorebeards. Genuinely,
totally.
Please. Mechanical Beanstalk, here's a reinvention for a bad idea like pygmies. Nobles of a human society we haven't covered yet control the fountain of youth. Child emperors. I mean,
oh man, but pygmies.
But pygmies.
So I've used this as a plot line. Because I've used everything as a plotline at some point, and I've had humans controlling the fountains, and it's not just eternal youth; it's eternal life as well, and how that might express. And I tied it directly through to a whole host of Karen tales too, and I think there is potentially something there, but I don't think I would personally tie it to the pygmies.
Yeah, there's just so much to fix. It's so much.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. That being said, I think playing around with the idea of like a Fountain of Eternal Youth scenario causing you to be dealing with someone that is perpetually a child is something you can explore, and that's fun. And that technically has been explored within the setting already in the roleplay game, because there's a child vampire who is genuinely fucking horrifying. That is introduced in Night's Dark Masters. If you want to check out that character. Taz Mosunt, tried. Thank you so much for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Elijah Snow, is there a good comprehensive history of the Border Princes? No. I keep coming back trying to develop the region, and much of what I find is very thin. That is all you will find. You kind of have to do it yourself.
Yeah, there's only really been one deep map for it, and it was presented in an ancient book called Plague Demon, a novel from a bajillion years ago, which sort of made it a balkanized up into Romania type area, to the point that some places from Romania, like Brasov, are in the map of the Border Princes. So that was in a book called Plague Demon. If you want to try and find it anywhere, you can get yourself a map of what the Border Princes could look like. But no, it's not particularly well detailed.
No. All right. We've got Getting Gleeful. What do you think would be the relationship between the version of fishermen that hate all the animals evolved from those left on the land and Stromfells, considering they represent all ocean predators? I think if you were writing the lore comprehensively, Stromfells would have a very solid and notably good relationship with the fishmen. Though I would say that you would still need to keep in mind that he is a cold-blooded as fuck motherfucker god of predators. So like, even I don't think it would be like a compassionate relationship, but I do think it would be, in the grand scheme of things, a positive relationship.
Sure. I would be less inclined to be so blanket and would instead say that the fishermen should be one of multiple societies. And sure, one of those societies is going to be strongly tied, but most of them will not.
Sarmalian Bloodweaver. If Games Workshop makes Lizardmen active in the old world, should they make the AOS ones more distinct? If so, how? Hashtag more old one tech. Hashtag more Sotek versus Horned Rat. There is a chance they're going to do this, and if they do, what they would probably do is they would use the older Warhammer minis to technically be the old world models, and then the AOS minis to be the new models, and everyone would be like, "That's stupid. I'm just going to buy the AOS models.
Fuck that. I'll just buy the
But I would,
one of the things that I find most fascinating about the old world is that it's boosting Age of Sigmar sales.
Yeah, it is, unironically. Would I make them more distinct? I personally would say, fuck it, who cares? Like, just let people use what they want to use. I don't think you need to make them dynamically different. I think special characters that are unique to each setting, that's great. Maybe specific single models, fine. So, like, if you want the AOS ones, I wouldn't care about making a huge difference. If I had to make a huge difference, I would make the AOS ones much more techy. So I would give them a lot more weird technology, and I would have the magic of the realms of Age of Sigmar influence them more heavily. So there's like when you have an Axian Seraphon, they've literally got like fire bursting out of part of their bodies and other weird shit like that. I'd make them weird, but I wouldn't really do it, would be the real answer.
Yeah, for me, the issue is less, would I want them to be different, and more, why didn't Age of Sigmar do something new?
Yeah, because it was easy. That's
totally. That doesn't mean it was a good idea.
No, it's a terrible idea. Getting Gleeful, also, they never planned to go back to fantasy. That was the real answer.
Totally. Of course. And you totally understand why it happened.
Yeah, evolved from those who left the sea for the sea for the land, I mean, as in they hate all land animal stuff like whales, marine reptiles, and stuff that then came back. So things that like developed lungs. I would probably have different fisherman factions would feel different about it. Like some of them maybe like embrace those that returned or are made up of creatures that return to the sea.
Plus, it requires a level of awareness that most I don't think would have.
Yeah, that would also be. I feel like this would be a very roleplay only relevant thing. So in like the battle game, this would never come up.
I'm not sure that would be a thing.
Barmatel, opinion on relaunching Warmaster during the Cataclysm. That'd be cute. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be cute.
That'd be cool.
Like Anarian would be a level of a mini that would feel appropriate for a Warmaster scale game.
Mm-hmm.
Scion the Emperor. I will say I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Scion. I will say I like Dad Abness writing of the Emperor the best. I'd also strongly recommend listening to Horus Rising, as the End of the Death is very much sequel to that, as well as the Carrion Lord of the Imperium from Era of Rune and Ashes of the Imperium. Cool. I will make a mental note of that. Thank you very much. The Carrion Lord and Ashes both add a lot to the understanding of how everything went to shit after the Emperor's placement on the throne after killing Horus. Some very significant stuff is revealed in Ashes about the aftermath.
Yeah. And it went to shit.
Sunrise, Parabola.
It's such a... Oh, no. I feel a rant coming on, so I'm going to shut up, given the time.
Ryan, I'd pay way more than my wife would be comfortable with to watch you or Andy stream Disco Elysium. We'll see what happens. Don't get in trouble with your wife. It's still the holidays. Dollar Forever. What's the next Beastman episode? I would love to see some on Ungrel Forehorn, Goros Warhoof, and Slugtongue. Well, if you actually want to see us talk a lot about Slugtongue, go check out we did an episode with me, Vera, and Lindsay, and kind of Andy because he was just chatting in the chat. We did an episode where we built out Estruth, the Lord of Hunger, and we talked about Slugtongue a lot. Like so much. It was almost a Slugtongue episode. So I would go watch that. It turned out really well. I'm actually very pleased with how that turned out. The big oof, man, I relate to that. Became a YouTube member. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's not our motto on this channel for everything we do. I don't know what is. Getting gleeful. What if Chup Yodel wasn't sung? I'm going to be honest. I don't think it'd make a very good what if because it would just be Chup Yodel still there. That's all it would be.
So what happened? Well, it's still there.
Nothing. What happened was nothing.
Oh, the Excel one, thanks.
What I would probably say to this is I would change it to what if Chup Yodel rose again from the waves? That would probably be a crazy what if.
Interesting, particularly if it was the Bushmen that came with it.
Exile One, thank you so much for gifting another 10 memberships. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. Look at all those green names. Look at all those green names when I look at the chat now. It's wild.
Crazy, isn't it? Look at it.
Like a whole thing of colors. Okay, with that, we're caught up and we're 10 minutes over time.
Right, well, I would like to have a quick summary. My quick summary is going to be quick because we're 10 minutes over time, and that is to say, we are not where we expected to be at all. We were doing this for fun, generally chatting away about Warhammer because we like it. We were also doing it because it gave us money. Let's be blunt. We all need and like to live. And sadly, we live in an entirely capitalist society where we need money to do anything. And we were just delighted that we were in a position where we could do something that we really enjoyed and also get money because of your generosity. And we started off doing the streams and went, you know what? With a little bit of ad revenue and the few super chats coming in, we can do this. This is going to be a good thing. I'm glad we're doing it together. And very quickly, that changed as we found out that we couldn't cope with the number of super chats coming in within the framework that we'd set up. So we had to change everything. Entirely how the show was being organized because you had so many awesome questions. But we wanted to make sure all those awesome questions were answered. So we ended up where we are now, where 2 years later, we're still talking about Warhammer Fantasy, and we have only scraped the tip of the iceberg in terms of all the topics that we can cover. Yes, we've done a good chunk of the special characters and covered quite a number of places within the world, but there's still so much we've not even come close to, as this stream has shown. A number of people have come up and said, can you discuss this? Or can you discuss that? We're like, we will eventually, maybe.
I want to add a quick little fun note. We're 2 years into Lorebeards, and Hawk has actually pointed out this to me, and it's why it's on my short list. We have never actually done a Zinch dedicated episode.
Oh, there you go. Never. Wow.
Somehow.
Did we do Equal Hellbrass? I thought we did Equal Hellbrass.
Oh.
We just added him to the list. No, we didn't do him, did we?
No, we discussed him during like the Changeling stuff.
Yeah.
For the DLC, but it's never been a mainline. It's never been a Zinch specific mainline.
And I think that says something because we have covered a lot, but we've barely covered anything. And it's a slightly different count to the count I have. I shall double check it just to make sure my count's not wrong, because that's the most likely outcome. So here we are 2 years later, and not only have we not in any way dried up the subject, we're also more excited now to discuss the next thing than we ever have been. And you, apparently, all of you lovely folks out there, are as equally as excited as we are to discuss the next thing and the next thing too. And you have continued to let us do what we love doing, which is talking about Warhammer. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. It's because you come in with your super chats, you come in with your watches and your views. It's because you share stuff online and other people watch it, that we are able to continue doing this. So my 2-year summary is thanks. Without you, we wouldn't be doing what we love. We're only doing this because of you. You all rock. But we've taken it a step further, and we've now opened up gates for other folk to hopefully share this as well, because we don't want to be the only ones doing this. Not because we, don't want to be the only ones. We want other people to take the weight. No, we want to share the wealth as much as we possibly can, give other people opportunities. And we're now in a place where we have our 40k Lorebeards, we have our book club. We're going to be opening up a new roleplay wing of Lorebeards relatively soon as well. And that's all because of your enthusiasm for these subjects and these topics. But that does come with, from my perspective at least, a request. And that request is, if there's more that you want, and there's subjects that you want to see us cover, obviously, communicate with us. But beyond that, if there's an entirely new area that you would like Lorebeards to cover, and this came up a couple of times in stream, whether it was a relatively popular computer game franchise or Star Wars or whatever, if you are interested in that, then we need Lorebeards to do it. We don't want to be doing this ourselves because we're doing fantasy and we have too much to do already, particularly because we're also picking up parts of Age of Sigmar as we go. And we're going to be picking up more as we go as well. We have too much to do. So if you are interested in these things, then you're going to need to help us find people who could hopefully drag that all together and turn it into our next thing to go along with everything we have just now. And if you're not interested in those things, then great. Let's just continue on as we are, because I could hardly be happier. I love Lorebeards. I love Ryan, and I love you all. This is the best.
Yeah, and I will be eternally grateful to all of y'all for allowing this to be a thing, because I get to work with like a literal mentor figure, which is a thing I have
Lindsay.
Not really. I love Lindsay. I love Lindsay. But he's about to get me in trouble. I gotta watch what I say. Lindsay's amazing. But I like working with Andy is it's one of those things that I would have paid stupid dollars to be able to go to just a fucking workshop with someone with Andy running it. The fact that I get to monopolize his time twice a week is fucking insane to me. And I get paid to do it. What?
I mean, how did we end up here? Who knows? But we're here.
Yeah. And this has been beyond a privilege for us. As far as like, I saw somebody ask, like, do we have anything we hope for 2026? Just this continue to be successful, I think is enough of what feels like a fucking bizarre fever dream. That's enough. If we could get YouTube and Twitch to quit fucking with us and pay us money, that'd be great. Well, bastards. We're almost done solving that. But I will say, if I had a wish that I think would be potentially achievable, but to me it feels fanciful, I would love if any of y'all out there know somebody or know somebody that knows somebody, I would love if there was a convention that wanted to invite Lorebeards to do anything, like do a panel or just have us out or anything. That would be like the fucking craziest shit in the universe. Andy's gotten to do stuff like that before, but to me that is like
I do all the time. I love it. For me, indeed, I'm going to be going to Sweden early next year. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that immensely. I also have a little bit of a wish, and that's that I'd like to see our channel, the Lorebeards channel, grow as much as it possibly can. So I'm all behind our 10k subs to discuss Malal, because I feel like that's a really nice first goal for us. So if you can think of any ways to get us up to that 10k, then please, please, please do help, because we would absolutely love to reach that point. Also, did I mention you all rock? Because you all rock.
You're all amazing, and we appreciate everything. We're still trying to we're still figuring out this whole thing, because it's still a weird, bizarre mystery of like, how do you find new audiences? I don't fucking know. We're trying to figure it out, but it's weird. And we appreciate y'all very, very dearly. And the more people we can try and reach, hopefully the more people that'll want to interact, and the more opportunities that'll present, and the more Lorebeard shows we can have. Because we don't want to try and coerce people to work for us unless we can pay them. And shit's expensive. So we appreciate y'all's support. We really do.
True
Infinitely
fact.
so.
Right, let's get our last little chats in before we say good night to you all, and a good night to 2025 as well.
How much do I need to pay to get Andy to play Final Fantasy 14 with Sotek sometime? Probably a
14.
lot. That's between you and him. Looking forward to the next stream of that tomorrow. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back into it.
I haven't played 14 for like 5 years.
If it ever happens, I demand Andy plays a Lalafell. Listen, if you want to bribe Andy to play a Lalafell and sacrifice some time to play some FF14 with him, me, you can deal with him and be like, pull out the checkbook and say, what's your number?
Wow, I have not played that game for a long time. I last played it on PS5, as I recall.
Yeah, I would say to Andy, be very careful what number you pick, because Cyan's one of those crazy motherfuckers that will likely step up to that plate. So think carefully before you spout out a number.
Well, I'm not dropping anything then, for the moment at least.
Joe Miller, take the credit, Andy. You're both great and have been a treat to listen to over the 2 years. The lore is great. The vibe is better. Cheers to you both.
Oh, thanks, Joe. That's a really nice line to end on. And it's really appreciated, because one of the things that we had right at the very beginning after we did our first couple of streams was, oh, we like this vibe. It's great. And we had the inevitable conversation of, do we match in terms of our general views on things? Because if we do, maybe we could do more. And we kind of did. And we both thought loosely the same stuff. Obviously, we've got our own backgrounds, our own opinions on what things should be. But we kind of worked well. We were like, yeah, this works. Let's just keep doing it. And our general vibe is, I think, not made for Lorebeards. It's just who we are. So
yeah.
In no way are we putting on something or trying to, be a particular type of person. It's just who we are. We're speaking from our hearts. And the fact that you come along and you say that you like that is exceedingly affirming. So thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Did we do a Go? Oh, we did do a Go Roach episode.
Yes, we did.
Take that. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, because we had that whole fucking thing about pronunciation. Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing that me and Andy will always be like. But this is fun, and I will always delightfully call back to the moment I knew that me and Andy could literally do any topic together and we were going to have a good time. Was the time where I literally told him to shut his whore mouth, and the only thing we could do was laugh.
Shut your whore mouth!
Yeah, that's what I knew. There was nowhere. There was no height. We could not summit.
Yeah, good times.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you all so much for a wonderful 2025, the first full year of calendar year of Lorebeards, and also the official launch of Lorebeards as a company, which is so weird to say.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, and we hope that next year will continue to be even better, and we'll be trying to come up with cool stuff for you guys. And as a last little tidbits, votes for fantasy topics will be resuming in 2026. There was a lot of stuff where we were like, okay, we gotta get this done, we gotta get this done, we gotta do this done. So those will be coming out again soon, so keep an eye out for those. Please do make sure to give our love to not only amongst yourselves in the community and our Discord. If you haven't joined it, please do. And it's active. People are doing things. We've had a really fun AOS league that's wrapping up, and we'll probably be launching a new league soon in the new year with the new Path to Glory book. So if you want to play tabletop games with me and some other folks, feel free to join us there. I'd love to get a 40K league going if there's anyone that wants to play 40K. And give love to our other shows as well. If you haven't considered checking them out, do so. The book club's going to be doing Scarsnick this upcoming month, January. So if you haven't picked up Scarsnick yet, you can pick it up really easily as an ebook or a physical book to join in on that. The 40K show's got a bunch of stuff coming up. They got a vote right now, but they're going to be back on Saturday. Though I think Ross is doing something solo tomorrow.
Is he?
I think.
Sure, I didn't know that.
I can't remember if he's doing it tomorrow or Thursday, but I know he's doing something solo this week.
Cool.
And or at least he intends to. So I guess we'll see. Should be a super good time. We love you all. Thank you so much for everything, because none of this would be here without y'all. It just wouldn't.
And with that, goodbye 2025. Let's hope that 2026 is Nurgle free and maybe with a little bit of additional tinsel.
Yes, I would love if next year could just be chill as fuck. That would be
that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Just a year that wasn't an absolute nightmare. Yeah. Cool. Well, other than that, we will see you all next time. But
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, and see you in 2026. Bye-bye, all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.